This is the Segovia Show.
They wanted a replay. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the program. We got a big live stream for you today, and I welcome all of you across just about every spectrum I can broadcast to. Now, I am trying to localize things a bit since this is straight Rumble Studio. I'm not using StreamYard, so the layout's going to be a little finicky, and I'm hoping that we don't have a repeat of the weird tech issues that we ran into yesterday. Those of you on YouTube that didn't see the live stream, even though it was announced, yeah, I don't know what happened with Rumble Studio. And when I went premium, it was still public. It wasn't exclusive to Rumble for some reason. Hey, not my doing, but I try to do my part. But this streaming from Rumble is going out to those of you on YouTube, Kick, Play TV, Gangjin World, and X. So I'm inviting everyone from the other platforms over to these. And if you want to participate in the chat, by all means, please stay on topic. We are about 5 minutes away from the beginning of the said debate, and I wanted to just to quickly go over some pregame notes. Right now, I have the debate audio in my ears. It's a little distracting. Let me just check on the audio. Let's see how that's coming through. Okay, sounds like it's coming through just fine. So, greetings, everyone. Welcome. It is Tuesday. I'm excited about this one. I couldn't cover the last debate, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. It was all about Trump. So, this time, hopefully, they can focus on California issues. And I was hearing some of these talking heads that are just talking to one another as they're building up the hype for this debate. Who's actually presenting California issues? And surprisingly, everybody was saying that the Democrats can't figure it out. Trump this, Trump that. Meanwhile, Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, the two leading Republican candidates, they're the ones actually proposing some solutions. So it's interesting to see how even they have to acknowledge this. I just wonder if Californians will acknowledge this, because the other thing that's going on and that I haven't given that much attention to, but I should, is the LA mayoral's race. But we have the California primary coming up on Tuesday, June 2nd. So if you haven't received your what is this thing? Your voters information guide, then I suggest you do check it out. Vote by mail voting begins May 4th. So that's already next week. So just giving you an idea. This thing is just filled to the brim with a bunch of names of different candidates, but not just for governors. Apparently, we got some county supervisors to also consider. So I'm not in LA. I cannot break all those things down. I am concerned about what's happening with Los Angeles in terms of won't they go communist, full-blown communist, and no longer hide it. Karen Bass, or as Spencer Pratt called her, Karen Basura, is up against Spencer Pratt, who used to be the butt of a joke because of his reputation on the reality TV stuff, but he's come a long way. Who knew that he would technically start morphing into the hero that LA needs right now, but not the one they deserve, or maybe they do. Let's hope so. But after speaking to a couple of pals that are deep in LA, particularly in the Hollywood sphere, there's a lot of people there that do not live in a place called reality. They live in their own bubble and in their echo chamber, and they think everything's A-okay. So we'll see if that translates to everything else, because depending on which polls you're looking at, either Tom Steyer's in the lead or Steve Hilton, or some polls were saying that Chad Bianco actually won the previous debate. But everybody else on the leftist sphere was saying that Javier Becerra won. I can't make any sense of this. Time will tell. And most polls do show that the Republicans are the ones making the Democrats panic. That part is true. That's why the Democrats are calling for some of the other Democrats to get out of the way so they can throw support around the other ones. But everybody's just throwing labels at one another for why they're still in there. It's like, support me or you're one of these things. Hey, you made the bed, you sleep in it too. All right, the debate should be starting here any minute. So let's get this thing up into the frame here. And I'm streaming this one from YouTube. So let's see. Let's hope that
we're ready to send you out to Pomona College for tonight's governor's debate.
It all starts in 2 minutes. Make sure to stay with us for post-debate coverage on your local CBS newscast. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the debate.
Okay, I'm going to adjust the volume a bit because it's coming in kind of loud on that end. Wow, how many commercials are they running? We're gonna try that. Okay, so I'm just waiting. They're supposed to be starting, but this screen means it's a commercial break. And at some point, I'm gonna go get my coffee. It's in the brewer. The first cup of coffee from different grounds, it didn't come out so good. So hopefully this next cup is much better. That's the one I made in the morning too. So it should be just fine. But let's see. This debate's supposed to go for about 90 minutes. And if you guys chime into the comments, I'll be highlighting what I can. I think I'll be able to see YouTube. I don't know about Twitch, but YouTube and Rumble, I'll definitely be able to see those comments here. And Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch. Okay, cool. I'll be able to see everything from here. And I'll be able to highlight some of those. In fact, I'm going to be typing into the chat right now. Welcome to the stream, the debate stream. There's a new phone call feature also available for Rumble Studio. So I didn't get enough time to set it up to mess around with it. But who knows? Maybe after the debate, we'll see how all that goes. But it looks like it's connecting just fine to YouTube, to Rumble, Gangjin World, Play TV. What is that? X? And who else? Oh, Twitch didn't connect. Sorry, you're going to miss out on this. But Kick is connected. So there's an error code for Twitch. Okay, here we go.
California, this magnificent place that we all call home, has always attracted dreamers and doers. They help create a golden state filled with opportunity, attracting people from around the country and the world, seeking a place in which to build a better life. But now,
bro, they got raided right now.
Many feel the California dream is under attack.
Everything has gone up such a high amount.
The cost of living is sky high.
Women homelessness has increased. Over the last decade, it's up 63%.
The homeless crisis remains.
I'm going to break down again.
And climate change is bringing extreme weather and
You guys are
extreme
still on with that?
disasters.
Tell me what California has done in the last several years to make your life better.
You can't just keep doubling down on spending more money on things that aren't working.
Tonight, we've invited 8 of the top candidates for governor to debate the issues we all face. The largest and most inclusive debate of the election.
Most inclusive. There's a lot of buzzwords here, folks.
Good evening. I'm Pat Harvey from CBS Los Angeles.
Wow, she's
And
still
I'm
there.
Ryan Yamamoto from CBS San Francisco.
Hi, I'm Tony Lopez from CBS Sacramento.
Hi, I'm Julie Watts from CBS News California Investigates.
And hello, I'm Sarah Sadwani from Pomona College.
We will moderate tonight's debate covering the issues you care about the most.
And how do we know what you care about?
Because CBS News just polled people all across the state and shared the results with us.
And we're using your responses to power tonight's topics and questions.
So time for us to take our seats and let's get this showdown started.
Did
Welcome
you
to
poll just
Voters
your-
Decide as CBS California
people?
presents the
Your
governor's
subscribers?
debate. A 90-minute in-depth discussion of the issues, live on the CBS-owned stations across California and many of our affiliates. And presented with our partners, Pomona College and Asian Pacific American Public Affairs. Welcome to the campus of Pomona College in Claremont, California.
It's a nice place.
And the
Nice campus.
historic Bridges Auditorium. For tonight's CBS California, Pomona College, and Apapa Governor's Debate.
It looks a lot like Pasadena, honestly.
And welcome. You get to do that again. Welcome inside Bridges Auditorium, Pomona College. Thank you for hosting this debate. Give yourselves another big round of applause.
Okay, here we go. Very loaded intro with a lot of buzzwords.
Enthusiasm already. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Harvey.
And I'm Tony Lopez. We are so happy to be with you for the next 90 minutes. Thanks to everyone in our audience, students, faculty, administrators, alumni, guests, and thanks to all of our candidates, all 8 of you on stage tonight, the most inclusive debate of the election.
That's right.
Inclusive.
And in full transparency, we held a random drawing for positions on the stage and for who gets the first question. That's the truth. But first, we do have a few rules. I know you heard them before, but we can't help but, address this again. Please hold your applause starting now until the end. And there will be no opening or closing statements tonight. Moderators will decide whether to give time for rebuttals. We will tell the candidates how much time they have for each round of questions, and when their time is up, everyone will hear a bell.
That's going to be
We
interesting.
also have several lightning rounds, as the name implies. We're going to ask for a yes or no answer. It may go against every core of your being as you give speeches out there, but a yes or no answer is what we're going for tonight, and we certainly appreciate
We'll
that.
see
A
how
friendly
you police
reminder,
that.
there are 8 of you on stage, and a cozy bunch you are. So because of that, we're going to ask that you be succinct and specific as you can in the time allotted. Speaking of time, we got some themes tonight. We got some things to talk about. So we're going to break down each half hour with a theme that Californians told us they care the most about.
As you know, we do have 5 moderators tonight presenting all of the CBS-owned stations in California, and Sarah Sadwani from Pomona College. Moderators will rotate every half hour, so you only get 30 minutes of us. I know that might be upsetting to you, but that's how it is.
All right. What do you say? Let's get this thing going.
Let's go.
The theme this half hour, you won't be surprised by. It's affordability. The Golden State has turned into the I can't afford to live here anymore state.
You blame Trump?
Golden State sounds so much better, doesn't it? So no surprise, people in California are fed up with the cost of everything.
This is Gavin Newsom's
We want
record.
to share with you a brand new poll. CBS News just released a new poll today. Again, no surprise, but the number is big. Showing 64% said they were not confident that the California dream is attainable.
And because of that, our first question tonight is, what is the first thing you would do as governor to increase affordability and restore the California dream? You do have 30 seconds to respond, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Hilton. I know that you've stated government taxes and regulations have caused affordability problems in the state. So what would you do to restore the California dream?
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. What a great crowd. And it's really for you there. We want you to be able to make your life here in California. Young people setting out on that journey. And the first thing I do is send to the legislature my first budget with my plan to make our state Cal-affordable. $3 gas, cut your electric bills in half, your first $100,000 tax-free, and especially for young people, a home you can afford to buy so we can restore that California dream.
All right,
of home ownership.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. I'll go to you next, Mr. Bianco, and I know you agree with most of what your Republican colleague there said in terms of deregulations and cutting taxes. But how do you propose to get anything done in a state with a supermajority Democratic legislature?
Thank you for pointing that out.
Well, the supermajority Democratic legislature is going to have to respond to California putting me into that office. And so it's not how I'm going to respond to them. It's how are they going to respond to me to make sure that we fix California. California is broken because of what has been happening in Sacramento because of an absolute failed Democrat progressive agenda that is destroying California. Everything that they are experiencing where they can't experience what I experienced when I came here is because of a failed agenda. The regulations and the taxes have to go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bianco.
Well
Mr.
done.
Mahan, what would you do to restore the California dream?
Pat, thanks for the question. This topic is personal for me because I grew up in a working class family in a small farming town, paycheck to paycheck, and I know what it means when gas prices go up as fast as they have. I'm the only candidate on this stage who has pledged to suspend and then reform the gas tax. It is the most regressive tax in California.
Get rid of it.
Working people, rural people are spending 3 times as much maintaining our roads as wealthier EV owners. We need to change that, but I won't stop there. We'll remove all of the barriers to building housing.
Thank you, Mr. Mahan. All right, you brought up the gas tax. Mr. Becerra, I know that you are not in favor of the gas tax. So I want you to tell me why.
Not in favor of cutting the gas.
Yes, you do not want to cut the gas tax.
I hate you.
Yeah. So don't answer the first question, answer this question.
You can just give me 5 seconds on why you do not support the gas tax, and you can answer the question.
Because I want everyone who's sitting here to be able to drive on our roads, cross our bridges, make sure transit is working, and you have to fund it somehow. Those who say they're going to cut the gas tax have to also say what they're going to replace it with. Otherwise, we're going to have potholes in every road, and we're going to have bridges that
potholes
can
in every
collapse.
road.
We have to fund what it takes to have quality infrastructure in California. But I will tell you this, when it comes to affordability, I know a little bit about that because my parents came to this state with $12 in their pocket. Yet they did build the California dream for my sisters and me. And so what I'll do, if I can finish the thought, is we'll reduce prescription drug prices. CalRx is working well. And we'll start building the homes that we need. 40,000 units are shovel ready. I'll get them going the first day I'm in office.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra.
Let's move on to the dream of owning a home in our state. It's really become a generational problem. California, only half of Californians own their own homes. One of the worst rates in the country. Children not able to live and afford to live where they grew up. Grandma and grandpa are grumpy. They have to hop on a plane to go visit their kids and grandkids. We all know the story. We all know people. So let's dive into housing. Governor Newsom proposed and promised 3 million new homes when reelected. The reality, only 500,000 were built.
Let's go over 20 years.
Obviously, that goal was not reached. The question to each one of you candidates, or at least 4 of you, you have 45 seconds to answer. What would you do differently to meet those housing goals? We'll start with you, Mr. Thurman.
It is the American dream. My mother was an immigrant who came here from Panama, and she bought a home, and everyone should have the opportunity. It's slipping away. And as governor, the first thing I'll do is provide down payment assistance grants to those who want to own a home. And we will build 2 million housing units using the surplus property that school districts have in every single county in this state. And we'll build 2.3 million units by the year 2030. I know what it's like to grow up in a household without food and on public assistance. I grew up on government cheese. I worked $3 an hour. Even now, I work an overnight job to put my kids through college and pay for elderly family members. We can create a more affordable California. Let us do that together.
Not through the
Mr.
government.
Thurman, thank you. Mr. Steyer, same question to you. There are environmental hurdles that raise the cost, obviously. I know you are big on the environment. Give us your take, 45 seconds, on housing and affordability.
So I was in Altadena yesterday talking to people who'd lost their houses. And I knew, listening to them, how central owning a house is to a California family. And the solution here is not a silver bullet. It's what I call silver buckshot. We need to work to shorten and reduce the cost of permitting. We need to redo zoning. There have been steps that I've supported in the last year on that way. We need to drop the cost of construction by using industrial construction off-site. And we need to work with the cities and counties and bring the money to them so they can afford to do housing. There is a plan on my website that's very clear, but in every one of these, it's going to be absolutely important to do structural change. The idea that we're going to do the same thing better is insanity. We need to make structural change in every one of the places where Californians can't afford to live.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Mr. Villaraigosa, the same question. He mentioned the rebuilding during the firestorm and the aftermath. The hurdles were removed. Are you in favor of removing the hurdles, not just in times of emergencies, but with the housing emergency that we have right here and right now?
Tell us, Villaraigosa.
Yes. And let me just say that homeownership used to be part of the American dream. My mom struggled to make ends meet, and we rented for most of our life. I bought a home at 25 years old. Young people like the young people here at Pomona College can't do that anymore. And so I've argued that we need to have first-time buyer assistance, $25 billion initiative at no cost to the taxpayer that will help them get into their first house and build up to 150,000 units. In addition, we need to fast track and streamline that housing building. I did that when I was mayor. I built more housing in 8 years than they did in the 12 years before that.
Mr. Villaraigosa, thank you. I was struck by your emphatic yes. And Ms. Porter, as I go to you, let me stay with that same theme in terms of removing the hurdles. Why wait for a natural disaster to do that? Why not just do that as a norm as we face the challenges that we face every day?
Yeah, you hear people on stage talking about their parents and they were able to buy houses, but I'm the single mom of 3 teenagers who believe they will not be able to buy houses here in California. We have to build much faster. California builds apartment housing and single family homes about 2 years slower than our competitor states. And in that 2 years, which is caused by permitting delays, it's caused by labor difficulties, it's caused by lack of innovation in building, everything becomes 10 or 20% more expensive. So yes, we need to reform permitting. Yes, we need to innovate in housing. We can bring down housing costs by 10 or 20%. That's not a few extra dollars. That is hundreds or thousands of dollars back in the pockets of families. And it's opening up homeownership to the next generation of Californians.
Thank you so much, Ms. Porter. Now, to another issue important to Californians. And Mr. Mahan, you brought this up. We're talking about gas prices. They're the highest in the nation here in California. And the gas tax is also the highest at around 61 cents per gallon.
Always has been.
So this is that lightning round where you say yes or no, and then we'll get back to it later. But please give me a yes or no answer. Are you in favor of suspending the gas tax? We know that Mr. Mahan says yes. Javier Becerra says no. What do you say, Tony Thurmond?
Yes.
All right. Chad Bianco?
Yes.
Mr. Steyer?
I want a windfall profits tax on the oil companies who've raised the tax by $100.
All right, Mr. Steyer, there was a lot of no's there. Let's go to Mr. Hilton.
That was a long way of saying
Mr.
no.
Hilton.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Ms. Porter.
No.
All right. Mr. Villaraigosa?
No.
All right. Now, as I've mentioned, my colleague Julie Watts will talk to each of you much more on gas coming up in our next half hour. But right now, let's talk about keeping Californians healthy. Because of federal subsidies ending, those enrolled in Covered California faced a 97% increase, with 6 in 10 people saying they have either skipped or delayed care altogether. What would you do on a state level to protect against future cuts? And where are you going to find the money to ease that pain? I think it's pretty obvious that we start with you, Mr. Becerra, because you worked on the Affordable Care Act when you were AG. So how would you ask that question? And you have 45 seconds.
Pat, the first thing we do is stop Donald Trump from continuing to make the problem so bad. Had Donald Trump allowed the premium tax credits under the Affordable Care Act to continue forward, millions of Californians would be able to afford their health care insurance. Had Donald Trump not cut it $1 trillion out of the Medicaid program, which is called Medi-Cal here, we wouldn't be facing 3 million Californians losing their health insurance. The first thing we have to do is stop Steve Hilton's daddy, who has endorsed him and said, that's what we got to do, from becoming the next governor of the state of California. We need someone who's going to fight Donald Trump, not agree with him.
Steve Hilton's daddy. All right. I believe you're talking about the president there, right? Because I haven't heard your actual father say anything about health care cuts here in California. But I'm going to let you answer that question and, of course, respond to Mr. Becerra.
It would be rather amazing, Javier. My dad was the goalie for the Hungarian national ice hockey team. And I don't think he weighed in on this issue at all. Look, I think what you just saw there is actually what's going wrong with our politics in California, which is all these big things that affect us on a daily basis. These are decisions made here in California by our politicians. Exactly. And we've had the same people in charge for 16 years now. And because it's such a disaster and such a high cost of living for everyone, and the highest poverty rate in the country, and the highest unemployment rate in the country, and the worst business climate, all these things going wrong, they can't do anything except blame Trump. Let's see how many times you hear that tonight. We need change in California.
He hasn't said he would oppose Donald Trump's cuts.
We need change in California, not more of the same of these Democrats.
But Steve, would you oppose Donald Trump's cuts?
The actual amount of money going in to healthcare from the federal government is going up this year.
I think that's a no. He won't try to undo Donald Trump's cuts.
The amount of money that's coming from the federal government into California's health system is actually increasing.
Well, you know, right now, many people don't feel that. They haven't felt
Exactly, and the
That
reason
increase.
that it's so
They're
bad,
suffering.
that costs are so high, is something we can fix here. There's not enough competition in our health insurance system because rules made here in California prevent insurance companies actually competing. We all know in life when you have more competition, you get lower prices and better quality. But the policies that we got going on in California prevent that.
All right,
As
Mr.
governor, I
Hilton.
would change that. So
Now,
we
you
can
know,
lower costs.
when you give more time, I have to give more time to someone else. So we're going to move over to
I'm a
Mr.
very generous
Steyer.
guy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hilton. Mr. Steyer, how would you make California more affordable again as far as health care is concerned?
Healthcare is a right for every Californian.
No, it's not.
And long term, the only way we can afford that is a single payer healthcare system.
No.
That will take at least 3 years to get if we
Get your
start on
socialism
day
outta
one.
here.
And in the interim, we're going to have a structural shortfall because of the fact that Donald Trump has kicked 3 million people off Medi-Cal.
Here we go again.
On day one, I will call a special election to close a corporate real estate tax loophole worth $22 billion to the state of California every year
Donate
so that
your
we
money.
can close that budget shortfall. The truth is, no one else on this stage wants to talk about revenue because we're short of revenue as a result of that bill in the Congress last year. And it's absolutely critical. If we believe that healthcare is a right,
it's not.
then in fact, we have the revenue to solve it.
Mr.
But
Steyer,
long-term,
thank you.
Single payer is the only way we solve it.
I'm going to go to Ms. Porter because you also believe in single payer.
Yes, correct. I mean, look, single payer delivers the most health care at the lowest administrative costs.
No.
I was a champion for single payer at the federal level because Medicare spends about 2% of everything that we put into it on administrative costs, and private health insurance spends 17 or 18% on pushing paper and denying claims and telling you no and who you can and can't go see as a doctor. So that's the change we have to get. We have to get much more administratively efficient with our health care. With regard to Donald Trump's cuts, we have to make sure we're protecting our hospitals. 25% of our hospitals in California are projected to close because of those cuts, and those hospitals provide 60% of care for car accidents, heart attacks, strokes, and other trauma.
Mr. Bianco.
I feel like I'm in the twilight zone here. We need to start. We have a group of 20-year-old kids, 20-ish, and we're just sitting here lying to them about broken Democrat policies in California for the last 20 years, and we're going to sit here and blame a president who's been president for a year. This is absolutely ridiculous.
What would you do then, Mr. Bianco?
If we cared about California, we wouldn't worry about what the federal government is doing. California is the fourth largest economy in the entire world. What do we care about a cut to medical?
Does that mean we support single payer in California?
Absolutely not. If you want socialism, go somewhere else.
Thank
because
you.
single payer people come to America for the best medical coverage and care in the entire world.
And what if you don't have any health care? What are you going to do for the people who need
I thought I
illegal
got to answer,
immigrants
but apparently we're just going to
You
do
did,
this all
but we
night.
only have so much time. But we
So-
still have, two more half hours to go,
going to
Mr.
take it from me.
Bianco.
Now I see where we're going to go when you attack the Democrat policies that have destroyed this state. If you elect a governor who cares about the state, it's not going to matter whether President Trump or President whoever takes something away from the state, because the waste, fraud, the abuse of our money in California by a government that we already know hundreds of billions of dollars, and we're worried about President Trump taking away that.
Okay.
It's crazy that we're lying
We're
to
going to
these
end on that,
kids.
Mr. Bianco. We get your point there.
We had rules here. I thought we had rules here. We're not supposed to go back and forth. I thought we had like 45 seconds apiece.
Yeah, the moderator's
Hold on,
jumping in.
Antonio. Pat, they're all wrong. They're all wrong. Let me explain why. Give me 1 second here.
They just lost control
First
of
of
this.
all, Steve, Chad, Trump's tax cuts are cruel. We see vulnerable people who are losing coverage who need it. So you're wrong to defend Trump's
Illegal
tax
immigrants
cuts.
have
On the
access
other
to all
hand,
this.
Tom, Katie, we don't know how to pay for single payer, and we see countries with single payer struggling with long lines and cuts to care. The last time the legislature looked at it, they abandoned it because it would double the state budget.
All right, Mr.
And Javier
Mahan.
Becerra is defending the status quo and just blaming Trump. Here's the real answer. Incentivize actual health, not
Okay.
just fee for service. Make people healthier.
All right, boy, this is democracy at work, that's for sure. Okay, Mr. Villaraigosa, 10 seconds.
And Pat, 10 seconds.
10 seconds. 'Cause we're not over. The debate isn't over.
Hold it. Becerra's right. He cut billions of dollars from Medi-Cal for almost 3 million people and cut covered California the subsidies for it. That's true.
Socialism
But it's
failed every time
also
it's tried.
true that we have too much waste and fraud in our system, and we need to attack that as well.
Okay, that's gonna come up in the next half hour. I promise. It's gonna come up in the next half hour. Okay? We have to hear from a student. Now, I know you're not against that, right? You have to hear from our students. You're still going to be here.
But Pat, at least give those of us who had our name used, give at least a 10-second response.
Well, and since you've said my name several times, go ahead, Mr. Passero.
Okay.
Really quickly.
Just to respond to Mr. Mahan.
There's no rebuttal.
The only person who's actually run a healthcare system, the largest system in the world, is me. I expanded healthcare beyond what we had ever seen in the country's history. So if you want to talk about what works, ask somebody who actually did it.
Thank you very much.
I'm the only person here who's going to get the money back that Donald Trump took away from us. I'm the only person who knows how to raise revenue so that we can pay for health care.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Mr. Thurman, really quickly, you know what's interesting? Everybody wants to talk at this debate, so that means we're doing a good job.
I think so.
Right?
I think we're going to move on to a touchy-feely moment.
This is worse
If I
than my
could,
teenagers.
every candidate has spoken. If I could just answer your question. You asked the question about revenue. What none of the candidates have said is that the only way we get this is by taxing billionaires. We have the opportunity to vote for a billionaire tax right now that will keep our hospitals open and give us the revenue that we can use to have a real single-payer healthcare system. What Mr. Bianco and Mr. Hilton didn't tell you is that they follow Trump, who doesn't care that those who don't have insurance got kicked off of health insurance. I don't see how that's good leadership and how anyone should be governor who wants to get people off of our healthcare rolls.
Okay, we do want to hear from a student.
Yeah. Pat, you got him going. You got him going. So let's embrace the environment we're in, okay? First of all, before we get to a question from a student, let's get a round of applause for Pomona College and where we are in this beautiful venue. I mean, you drove up here.
Okay, that's called crowd work.
Okay. All right, we're going to bring up our student, Mr. Ryan Kasarian. You have a question.
Good evening. Wow, that was a bit of a mess. My name's Ryan Kasarian.
Right on.
Well, what can you do? My name is Ryan Kasarian. I'm a student of politics here at Pomona College and a Marine Corps officer candidate. California tells students that education is the path to opportunity. California itself was once the land of opportunity. Yet students are graduating with a tremendous amount of debt in a state with no hope. There are no jobs and people are leaving. As governor, what steps would you take to tackle the rising cost of education and bring jobs back to the state of California?
Mr. Villaraigosa, I'm going to let you answer that question. Because when you were mayor, of course, you were very concerned about the direction LAUSD was going.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. And thank you for your service, by the way. Appreciate you. Let me be clear. I got a record. It was a Catholic school that gave me a foundation, but a public school that gave me a second chance. 1 out of 3 schools were failing when I was mayor. And by the time I was done, it was a 60% increase in the graduation rate. But college affordability is not affordable. It's just not. $85,000 for tuition at Stanford and USC. That's unacceptable. In fact, probably here as well.
Thank you. We're going to come back. Mr. Thurman, you're superintendent of education. Please.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you for your service. I've introduced legislation already that would make college free in California. I call it pay it forward. You go to school for free for 4 years, and when you graduate and you get a job, you start to pay back what was provided for you for the next group of students who come after you. And as governor, I will implement this program so that we help to reduce the debt that California students experience so they can put that money towards buying a home or launching a business. I lost both my parents by the time I was 6 years old. I was raised by my cousin who adopted me and worked at a university. And because she worked there, I got to go to college for free. I believe we should do the same for California students.
Thank you, Mr. Thurman, for your story. And thank you, all of you, for having coffee before you came out here tonight. This has been electric, but it's not over. Up next, Julie Watts with CBS News California Investigates will join us to discuss money and accountability in politics.
We're talking fraud, gas prices, the insurance crisis, education, a laundry list. I know you have thoughts. We will get those thoughts. So stay with us for the CBS California Governor's Debate.
Okay, So I'm back up on the frame, and I got this thing in my ears, so I can hear all the stuff going on. But I'm gonna get my coffee here in a moment. But let me just tell you about affordability, housing affordability. This is something that I do for a living. I work in construction, I work in real estate, and for those of you that are new to the program and haven't tuned into the stuff, this is why I talk about said things. Because what happens in California affects all of you. And if you're watching, not in California, but you're following this with interest, then it's good on you for caring, because we send a bunch of Congress individuals over to Congress that affect you. We send people that could have been your president or want to be your next president that will affect you, that can California the rest of the country. So we have the 4th largest economy, and yet you hear about all these different struggles. The average age of home buyers now are 40 years old. A few years ago, it was around 35 years old. So what does that tell you? The same group of people that were able to afford just 5 years ago are the same ones that can afford to buy now if they were in the market, which means to say that the people that are trying to climb up that ladder cannot afford it still. So what is going on? Why is Gavin Newsom going around the country saying that California is the greatest economy and we're making so much? Why do we have such an exodus of people leaving from here? Why are the billionaires leaving from here? We have the co-founder of Google announced today that he's leaving. There is too much of a tax burden here, and every single candidate that was up there that would not suspend or roll back any regulations on any industry and such, they're part of the problem. They'll continue the status quo and make it worse. Only like 2, maybe a half with Matt Mahan, so Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton are the ones that actually have solutions that battle the status quo. But because Trump is a buzzword, they're trying to use that as a way to coax you into believing them, because they're trying to play off the feelings of everybody when they miss the point that the youth are more supportive of Trump than the boomer generation is, which are a lot of these candidates that are up there that are missing that point. So the youth vote is significant, but then again, the youths also don't even show up to vote. So we'll see how this goes. I'm gonna go get my coffee. Let me bring this back up to frame. Enjoy the music.
Welcome back to Pomona College and the CBS California Governor's Debate. I'm Julie Watts. As your CBS News California investigative correspondent, my role is focused on accountability, transparency, and digging deeper into the issues that matter to our California communities. Over the last year, we have done in-depth accountability interviews with 15 top polling candidates, and 8 of you have made it onto our stage tonight. Thank you all so much for being here. It's so good to see you all again. You can see their full interviews at cbsnews.com/CAGov. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So just so y'all know, I am not afraid to cut mics, so let's not, thank you, right, okay. For the next half hour, we are going to continue the theme of our interview series. And as I'm sure you all know, that was pushing beyond the talking points. So that means, yes, there will be follow-up questions. We are going to start with gas prices and more specifically the gas crisis. CBS News California investigation recently revealed that state leaders who once accused oil companies of price gouging now admit they didn't find price gouging. Meanwhile, 2 refineries have shut down in response to California policies, and roughly 20% of our special California gas is now being refined in China and then shipped back over here to us.
Thank you.
Critics say that is leading to price spikes during this current war and more pollution. So, Mr. Steyer, I would like to start with you. During our interview, you argued that California should actually outsource all of our refining, whether it be overseas or to other states. Given that California refineries are among the cleanest in the world, can you explain why you don't think that will increase pollution and, frankly, why it won't increase prices for that matter?
Wow, it's a hard question.
What I said was that we should have the ability to outsource everything because we're under the thumb of the oil companies who have been jacking up prices.
Dude, your talking
and if you
points
look
are
at the
20
price
years
of gasoline
outdated.
in the state of California, it is up because of the war in Iran. And that war has driven up prices for everybody in California.
Why is it $3.50 more than everywhere else, though?
And the costs to the oil companies have not gone up a penny. That's $70 billion of profit to the oil companies because of a war started by Donald Trump.
So, Mr. Steyer, to be specific, the folks at home, you can go to cbsnews.com/CAGov and see what Mr. Steyer said. But you did, in fact, say that we should be outsourcing all refining.
We should be able to do that because if we're going to get held up by the few refineries left in California, it's going to be necessary for us to have an alternative.
China and Iran? I'm going to just go ahead and fact check a little bit here. So what happens is our gas supply is priced at the most expensive barrel. And right now, the most expensive barrel is coming in from overseas. And so gas prices in California are set at that level. Yes, refineries, yes, the oil companies are profiting more right now, but they're not the ones specifically, at least they say, they are not the ones specifically setting the price of gas. I'm going to let some of your other colleagues chime in. And actually, I would love to go to Ms. Porter.
Can I finish my thought?
No,
because
sir,
we
you can
should
come
take
back when it is your
windfall
time.
Profits.
Sir, we're going to have to cut the mic if you're not respectful. Ms. Porter, I would love to give you a chance. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. During our interview, you said that you do think we should be keeping refineries in state, at least for now. And so I would love to hear your thoughts on Mr. Steyer's answer.
Yeah, right now, we need to keep all of our energy sources online. That's just the reality that we're in. Electricity demand in California is projected to go up 50% in the next few years. And so we're going to need to be adding green energy rapidly. I think right now, those refineries, they're up, they're running, they're creating good jobs. Let's keep them there. But I want to be really clear because I know you do care about accountability. Refineries, the people who work in Kern County at those refineries and the people who live in Kern County also face some of the worst pollution and lower life expectancies. Green energy gets us out of that.
Ms. Porter, I do want to ask you to respond specifically to the portion of the question about increased gas prices and increased pollution. Do you think that outsourcing all of our refining would increase pollution and ultimately gas prices?
As I just said, I think our refineries right now in California should stay open. We've always had a mix of refined here and brought in overseas. So it's probably going to stay that way.
So yes, it would increase pollution and prices. So I would love to sort of switch gears a little bit. Mr. Hilton, you have a very different perspective. And I want to push back a little bit on your perspective. You've been arguing that we need to increase drilling in California. Now, realistically, and even the oil companies will tell you this, we will never be able to drill enough to replace the 60% of crude we now import into California. And even if we could, as we just mentioned, we've lost our refining capacity. We can't turn it into gasoline here anyway. So considering that we cannot drill our way to energy independence, can you tell us a bit about how you will support the transition to at least a hybrid electric future?
So we just need a bit of common sense in this whole area. First of all, Javier said earlier about the gas tax, which is a big part of the reason it's so expensive, that we need it for the roads, but we pay the highest gas tax and have the worst roads in America. I was speaking to a contractor the other day who builds roads, who said it's 4 times as expensive to do it in California compared to other states. We can change that. In terms of production, my conversations with the energy industry in Kern County, I spend a lot of time there, that actually, with the right policies, we can double production.
Can you answer the question that I asked, sir, and that is, how are you going to support the transition to electric or alternative sources?
Well, first of all, as long as we are using oil and gas in California, it's just common sense that we use the abundant reserves we have here, rather than shipping it halfway around the world from
Mr.
Iraq.
Hilton, understood. But are you saying you're not going to support at all any shift to electric?
Yes, but let's be sensible about electric. For example, right now, we have a fleet of gas-fired power stations generating electricity that are running at 10 to 15% of their capacity, even though we have abundant natural gas in California that we could be using to generate affordable, reliable electricity that would lower the cost of electric bills for consumers and businesses.
Sir, Mr. Villaraigosa, you're next on my list because you very much are the all of the above candidate, right? You said that many times. By the way, 252 times y'all said all of the above in our interview series. Very common phrase. But yes, you are the all of the above candidate. Can you please explain to, frankly, all of the candidates why you have concerns about one or the other?
Well, first of all, we have the highest gas prices in the United States, on average by $2 a gallon.
$3.50.
With Trump's war, it's going up even further because we have closed down so many refineries and we have to rely so much
Sir,
on
I'm going to interrupt
foreign
you
crude.
just temporarily. Number one, you guys also said the word Donald Trump 1,000 times during our interview series. So if I hear it too many times, I am going to ban it for the rest of the segment.
Well, actually, if it's true, I'll say it.
Yes, sir. But what I would like you to do is focus on your concerns that you shared with us about why the rush towards all electric is concerning. You talked about not having the infrastructure there.
Yes.
And how we should still continue to.
So we need an all of the above strategy that understands we got to transition from oil and gas to renewables. But here's an example, the 2035 mandate. We built 167,000 charging stations in the last 10 years. We need 2 million more to get to that mandate. And if we built them, we don't have a grid. So we ought to build the grid instead of arguing about whether or not we need an all of the above policy. Anybody with a brain and knows a little bit about climate change and what Norway does knows that that's what we have to do.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to put a pin in gas prices for a second, and we're going to move on to insurance. Californians who have insurance are often worried about the high cost. But our investigation found that an increasing number of homeowners simply cannot get insurance, even in low wildfire risk areas. And that is the concern, right? So insurers, they tell us, listen, we stopped writing new policies because California regulations won't let them charge enough to cover their risk. Mr. Becerra, you have promised to freeze insurance rates. And I want to push back a little bit because rate increases, as you know, they are approved by the insurance commissioner and they are mandated under state law. What authority do you think that the governor has to freeze insurance rates without going back to the voters to overturn Prop 103?
Julie, the governor can declare a state of emergency, and that's what I would do. This affordability crisis is hitting every family, and we have to act as if this were a break glass moment. And so I would declare that state of emergency. I would call in the insurance commissioner. I would call in those insurance companies.
What would be the cause of the state of emergency?
The high prices and the fact that people are losing their insurance coverage without any explanation.
So, sir, let me just follow up on that. Following Prop 103, the California Supreme Court ruled that temporary price freezes were unconstitutional. What would make your proposed state of emergency different than that?
I am calling for a freeze. I am calling for an opportunity to sit everyone down. I am calling for an opportunity to reveal behind the curtain what insurance companies are doing.
But if the court's already ruled that that was unconstitutional, how is your plan different?
Well, Julie, I'd like to go to court with you on that one. I was the Attorney General of the state of California, and I did defend our people to try to get the lowest cost. And I'd be willing to go to court to tell you that I could call that freeze, even though you're telling me we can't. I will try.
I'm just asking you to tell us how.
Because how? I will call in the insurance commissioner, I will call in the industry, and I will say, I am going to call for a freeze. If you don't want to go there, then I will call for an investigation of the way you're conducting your business. My mom, who has had some homes for about 30 years, lost her insurance on one of her small houses, never made a claim on that home. She lost the insurance coverage she had. By the time she was able to find it again, she had to pay more than twice as much for that insurance coverage. Why, after so many decades of paying that insurance company premium after premium for month after month, year after year, can they just all of a sudden cancel you and say goodbye?
Because they're a private company and they can do whatever
that's
they
not
want
good enough.
right now.
For me as governor, that's not good enough.
Understood. Yes, Mr. Mahan.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Look, Javier's plan won't work. It's actually the reason we're in this mess in the first place. The government in Sacramento created, just to finish the point, created so many restrictions, including taking over a year to approve any rate changes, prohibiting insurance companies from using climate data to project future costs, that they stopped writing new policies. The answer is bring them back, force them to compete, allow them to appropriately price risk, and then hold government accountable for maintaining our wildland, reducing all that vegetation and wildfire risk so we don't have these catastrophic fires.
Mr. Becerra, to Mr. Mahan's point, if you cap rates, if you freeze rates, what is to keep the insurers from leaving the state and then us essentially being left only with the FAIR plan?
The fact that we have 40 million people in this state and we pay our insurance premiums and they don't want to lose that business. If they could show us that they're not making profit, I get it. We'll help you, but let's find out how
They
much
already
they're making
stopped
in
writing
profit.
policies.
Exactly. And they've left Dodge, but they've not told us that they're not making
And then
profits.
Mr. Villaraigosa, I'll let you chime in, but Mr. Hilton, please.
So just a quick fact check, if I may, on my friend Matt. The 2 points he makes absolutely right, that we need the industry needs to be able to take account of future risks, including climate and also the cost of reinsurance. That change, to be fair, has already been made by the current insurance commissioner. The point he makes about the speed of approval is exactly right. It does take over a year, but actually that's a question of really enforcing the law that's already there. In Proposition 103 that set up the whole architecture of this, there is a rule that rate changes should be approved in 60 days. We just need to enforce that rule instead of what we have now.
I will tell you, I've spoken at length with the Department of Insurance, and they say they are working towards that, and they are setting new policies. Yes, Mr. Villaraigosa.
But the question is how we got there.
How do
this
we
was
get
the
there?
only state that didn't do catastrophic modeling in a time of climate change.
And we are doing that now.
The only state that didn't do reinsurance, and the only state that took longer than a year to pass a rate hike.
Yes, but
So
that's
the
already
entire
happened.
industry.
So what would you do differently?
Excuse me.
It's already happening.
Excuse me.
What you're asking for.
Well, I will say,
Excuse me.
listen,
So
Mr.
the
Villaraigosa,
entire
he does make a
industry
good point.
left.
If I can interrupt,
So,
please.
yes.
Let's talk about, we know how we got here. What are we going to do different? Because those things are already in the works and those changes are already being made.
Well, we didn't know how we got here because some people said something else. Let's be clear about that.
So
But
what is your plan moving forward?
plan is to make sure that the fair plan, which is an unfair plan, not abiding by Prop 103, we got to make it work. Too many
I don't think
people
he
in
knows.
these fires, too many people
that's
in
the
these fires weren't compensated enough for the
Real quick,
damage
just a
they
point of
received.
clarification. Do you think that we should be moving everybody onto the fair plan, or do you think we should be keeping private insurance
We should
companies
bring
here?
the insurance, like Matt said, bring the insurance company back by making the changes, but then we've got to fix the fair
Thank you,
plan.
sir. Yes, Mr.
Declaring a state of emergency. That's why you declare a state of emergency.
Mr. Becerra, Mr. Villaraigosa, I don't want to have to ask Ziggy, our producer, to start cutting mics. So, Mr. Steyer.
Look, I think we've got to accept the fact that insurance companies write insurance in order to make money. And because of climate change, the risk to houses, the risk of catastrophic fires has gone up dramatically. The job of the governor of California is to protect Californians from that, both in terms of their houses burning down and these insurance premiums. So that means making sure on a macro basis we get rid of dry timber, that we do controlled burns, and also hardening the houses. We need to help people harden the houses, and then we need to go to the insurance companies. The governor needs to go and say, this is the risk. We're going to let you make money, but you have to take into account the reduced risk that the government and the people of California have caused to happen, and that's how you can make some money.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. I do want to, just for our viewers' benefit who may not know, unlike gas prices, insurance rates in California are actually well below the national average. We have the most expensive gas, not the most expensive insurance.
Yeah, Florida,
Mr. Thurman, I
probably
do
more
want to go
expensive.
to you. A major insurer is currently under investigation for not properly paying out claims after the LA fires. At the same time, that insurer just got a significant rate increase. Now, you've said that insurers under investigation should not be allowed to get rate increases. But again, I want to go back to the point that I made with Mr. Becerra. What authority do you think that the governor has for you to make that promise, since rates are regulated by and mandated, frankly, under the insurance commissioner?
Well, the governor can certainly work with the insurance commissioner to say there should be no rate increase unless the insurance industry is actually writing policies. They have failed California in our greatest need. They've taken the money from premiums, and then when people needed to have support to rebuild their homes, they said, whoops, we're not going to help you. Then they got a rate increase. I'm sorry, where I come from, when you do a bad job, you don't get a raise. And so as governor, I would withhold any dollars that would go to support
Mr.
any
Thurman,
business.
you can't do that.
You could,
You don't have that authority as a governor.
I'm withholding tax credits. I'm withholding benefits to businesses that want to do business with the fourth largest economy in the world. I have supported tax credits for those who are employers in our state. But for the insurance industry, if they will not write policies for Californians, they will not get any subsidy from the state of California.
And Ms. Porter, I'd love for you to chime in. Do you think that that would then force insurers or incentivize insurers to leave the state? I mean, where does that leave us? Will we have insurers left in the state if if that happens?
Yeah, just to summarize the squabbling for everybody, what he wants to do is unconstitutional. What he's proposing is a good idea, but was already done. We don't want more people on the FAIR plan because it's a huge financial liability for the state of California.
It's single payer. You want it somewhere else.
Excuse me.
Single payer.
I'm speaking.
I know you are.
She's talking.
Mr.
And
Bianco,
we're lying
we'll go
to
to
kids.
you. We'll go to you next.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was even up here anymore.
No one's called on him.
Give me a minute, and then you will get your
May
time.
I finish? The reinsurance is a really important part of this, thinking about how to insure the insurers. There are ways that we could put California state dollars at play to bring down the cost of reinsurance, which would help more people come back into this market and write more affordable policies.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. Now, to your point, Mr. Bianco, Ms. Porter has supported single-payer healthcare insurance, and you are saying that this is essentially the same thing. Can you elaborate on your concern, and then, frankly, chime in on what you think these plans will do to the insurance market?
Yeah, I was walking in here tonight, and I was asked the most strange question ever by a CBS reporter that said, "Are you afraid of tonight?" And my answer was, "I'm not afraid of anything. I'm truly not." But actually, I'm terrified that one of these people are going to be your next governor, and these kids are all going to have to move. This is absolutely ridiculous. We're lying to we're not taking responsibility for failed Democrat policies that have brought us here. The FAIR plan is 100% a single payer, and it is a failure.
Yes, it is.
Absolute failure. So we're not going to medical because it's the same thing. The insurance companies left because the insurance companies can't be forced into bankruptcy by the state. They told the state it wasn't global warming. Stop believing that.
Yeah,
it was a
amen.
failed environmental policy that doesn't allow fire departments to prevent defensible space around our homes or clear out the brush for 30 years that are building in our mountains and in our hills that took out a city.
Okay,
they specifically said we were going to lose a city, and our governor said we don't care, and so the insurance companies left.
Mr.
When
Bianco, do you have
Julie,
any
may I ask Javier
go.
a question?
Do you have any ideas for what you would do so far? All you've said is this group has failed.
The regulations,
What would you do?
Exactly. I will stop the 16 years of Democrat failure of regulations in this state that have destroyed their ability to live here. They are going to have to find a different state to live, not grow up in the California that I had the opportunity to grow up in, because regulation in this state is destroying our ability to live here.
Thank you, Mr.
The
Bianco. And I
fire
will say this,
departments could
just to
fix this.
clarify for folks, that the governor does have the authority to appoint the heads of state agencies who then make regulations. So they can do that without going through the legislature, for those folks at home who may not understand that. Yes, Mr. Hilton, you wanted to ask Mr. Becerra.
If I may just
I'll
ask
allow
Javier
it.
a question. Thank you. He said that he would declare a state of emergency on insurance. Have you read the statute that sets out the governor's emergency powers?
I've actually defended the governor in any number of forms when I was Attorney General for the state of
Have you
California.
read the emergency powers statute?
I have read the statutes before.
Well, then in that case, you would know that what you're proposing is not in there. You can't
That's not correct. That's not correct. When you declare a state of emergency, you have extraordinary powers. Now, that doesn't abridge
Yes, but
the
they're very
Constitution.
specifically
But it does
described in the
give you the
statute.
opportunity, if I could answer, it does give you the opportunity to do things with the insurance commissioner, with the industries that let you try to come to a negotiated solution. To just let the insurance companies run over us, to let them just tell my mom they're canceling your policy after 30 years.
I don't think he has read
in this state of
I am
California.
looking forward to seeing what happens when you do that, because I mean, I've been told that you can't do it, but you are the former AG. And I have to tell you all,
I'm the only candidate who's actually declared a state of emergency in this country and been able to deploy resources.
We can't have a governor who doesn't understand how the government works.
And we don't need a talking head from Fox News to tell us how the government
Okay,
works.
Fox News. See,
y'all
another
are
gotcha
paying
turn.
millions of dollars for attack ads, so let's keep those on the commercials. By the way, great new commercial today, sir.
Thank you. We've got
and
lots
we
of
are-
ideas for all your questions.
And we are live, so please, none of that language tonight, sir. All right, we're going to move on to education. And I have to tell you, one of the coolest things about our interview series is people tell me all the time, I learned so much, even from the candidates they don't agree with, they would never vote for. They learned a lot from your interviews. And so this is what I'm trying to get at here, is to have you guys debate your policies. Very different perspectives. Different people are going to agree with different things. But please be honest about what we can do. California schools. This is a really important one. Schools are the state's single largest budget item. the single largest budget item. Yet districts are facing a financial crisis right now, driven in part because of skyrocketing insurance costs and an influx of decades-old abuse lawsuits. Now, student test scores, as we all know, are still below pre-pandemic levels. Schools are cutting teachers and cutting programs at a time that we need those programs to get our students back on track. You all have thrown out these key words: equity, accountability. You want to give teachers grades. Right now, schools can't even hire teachers. They are firing teachers. My sister is a teacher. She's got more than 30 kids in her class because they're firing teachers in her district. But who has a plan to raise academic achievement with quantifiable goals, and who can explain how you will actually accomplish that in your first term in the middle of a financial crisis? I saw your hand go up first. Mr. Mahan, go ahead.
Thank you. Julie, education changed my life. I came back after college as a Teach for America teacher in Eastside San Jose to teach in one of our most underserved communities. I can tell you exactly what we need to do. We need to cut administrative overhead and get more money into the classroom. We need to reward teachers whose students show more learning growth. For those teachers whose students don't, we need to intervene and provide coaching and training and help them get up to speed. And we need to have high expectations, including teaching phonics in the early years. That's a fight we never should have had.
And we are doing that now, right? But let me ask you this. So you said cut.
We haven't done it yet.
Okay. Specifics, though. You said cut overhead. What overhead do you, I mean, you've been a teacher. What overhead can we cut?
Yeah, if you look at spending over the years, we have seen the system's expenses go up as student enrollment has declined. More of that money needs to go to recruiting teachers at the beginning of their career.
I guess the question is, tell folks at home, what is that going to that you would cut? Is it going to janitorial staff?
It's going to the nearly 1,000 districts we have, with all of the superintendents, all of the district staff, all of the staff that's not in the classroom. We need to reward teachers whose students grow faster. We need to have high expectations. It is a crime that with half of the spending per pupil, Mississippi is doing a better job of educating low-income students.
And Mr. Hilton, you have talked about looking to other states. I do want to give Mr. Steyer a chance.
Look, my mom was a teacher, and the teachers in this state have endorsed me. And let me say that on a cost-adjusted basis, we're the 31st out of 50 states in terms of spending per pupil. The truth is, the thing that makes kids succeed in classrooms is great teachers. And we need to be able to recruit teachers. And that means we need more money. And I've said on day one, I'll propose closing a corporate real estate tax loophole to bring in money to pay teachers, to pay them, to recruit them, to train them, and to retain them, because a master teacher is an incredible value to the people of California.
I would like to just get to Mr. Thurman very quickly. And Ziggy, if you can give me time in my ear. But Mr. Thurman, you are the one who's been in charge since before the pandemic. The situation that we're in right now has happened, for lack of a better way to put it, under your watch. Mm-hmm. What can we do to increase student achievement in light of the financial crisis?
I mean, education is the greatest equalizer there is. It saved my life as somebody who lost both parents, and education gave me an opportunity to change my humble beginnings. And we have to provide that for all of our students. What folks aren't saying on this stage is the biggest challenge for our schools is declining enrollment. Schools get their revenue based on attendance. Okay. And we're one of only 6 states in the nation that still gives revenue based on average daily attendance. We have to move to an enrollment system as we recognize that schools are losing revenue. And we have to implement my 5-year plan to make sure every student reads by third grade.
Speaking of students, we have to get to our student question. But you can watch in-depth interviews with all of our candidates on all these topics online. In the meantime, I would love to introduce Chloe Ogans, a Pomona College sophomore, with a question for you.
Hello, my name is Chloe Ogans. I study politics at Pomona. And when researching your platform, something that came up was that you talk about reconstructing or rebuilding California. And so if elected governor, I was wondering what your vision was for that.
Ms. Porter, it seems like you've had the least amount of stage time in this segment, so I am going to defer to you. Would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, we need to make California grow. We need more people in California, and we can't get there if we don't add housing. Yes, we need jobs, but right now one of the biggest reasons we're not growing jobs is we don't have anywhere for workers to live. I've also rolled out policies for free childcare. That is a game changer for California, bringing us something that other states don't offer, and 2 free years tuition tuition-free at our UC, our CSUs, and our Cal Polys. Those are all real affordability solutions. They're taking us back in some ways to things we used to have like free UCs and forward in others like
and
free
we'll talk
childcare.
more in the future about how we're going to fund those things. In the meantime, I want to thank you all. This has been a pleasure. Of course, our 30 minutes flew by. And remember, we cannot cover every issue tonight, but you can. You can head to cbsnews.com/CAGov for our side-by-side candidate guide. Pick your candidates, pick your issues, watch their in-depth interviews. We will be right back.
Julie, what's your full X handle? Okay. Remove this for now. Bring myself up to the frame. I need to lower the volume. It's really loud. For those of you that are watching on Play TV, I hope you can chime in onto the chat. I know some of you were having difficulty watching the stream. I think it might have been through the app, but the browser's playing just fine. So Trinity, shout out to you. Hopefully you got to be able to tune in for the rest of this. I did message you over on Parler, but to everything else. Okay, so with the exception of, I want to say 2.5. I would say 2.5 because in the case of Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton, with Chad Bianco being the most straight up and Steve Hilton being the more political sounding of the bunch, it's Matt Mahan is like, dude, you're almost there to the point. Meanwhile, my goodness, Thurman? Is that the guy's name? Yeah, you're a full-blown commie, and I can't. I cannot support, and some of the stuff, like Julie said, under your watch, so you got to own up to it. Katie Porter keeps talking about we need to build more houses. Well, all of them all say to some extent that we need to build more houses. Here's the thing. Some of them have talked about a first-time home buyer assistance. Technically, that still exists. It's limited. I'll probably be bringing on a pal of mine from the mortgage industry to talk about that in the series that I'm doing for Real Estate 101. So you might want to make sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so when that goes up, you don't want to miss out on it. That's very timely information. But these programs are limited. But here's the thing. It's not enough to get someone into the home. The barrier to acquiring a home is the upfront cost for sure. The thing then becomes, can you actually afford the mortgage thereafter? If the answer is yes, then the first-time homebuyer assistance program, which shouldn't be funded by the government, makes sense. But these are the same people, some of them up there, that were vouching for free programs to pay for illegal immigrants, or dreamers as they call them, to buy a home. But they cannot afford it. That's why we have $25 an hour burger flipping jobs over here that are being lost to kiosks. And it's like, I don't understand how they can keep saying that everything more expensive and more difficult, but we need more of this government and we need increase taxes. And that's what brought us here. So I appreciate Chad Bianco calling out the BS. He's doing it for me.
And welcome back
and
to
as much as I don't like that he had to interrupt, Steve Hilton had the nastiest interruption of the bunch. That
California
might come back to haunt him because he just looked very
Thanks for joining us. I'm Ryan Yamamoto.
But Chad Bianco stepping in.
And I'm Sarah
against Katie Porter.
Sedwani. In the last
He made a
hour,
good
we've
point.
covered
Dude,
accountability,
I'm one of the
we've covered
biggest names here,
affordability.
and you haven't
Now we're
even
going to
called on
delve
me.
into some of the
All
deeper
right, get back on the
issues
break.
on
Let's come
social
back to this.
issues impacting California.
Our first topic is homelessness. Our CBS News poll released today shows voters want the next governor to focus on housing along with mental health and addiction treatment. So for our first lightning round question, yes or no, would you as governor support a plan to mandate those who repeatedly refuse offers for a pathway out of homelessness be forced into a treatment facility? Mr. Villaraigosa, yes or
Yes.
no? Mr. Mahan?
Yes.
Ms. Porter?
Only with safeguards and protections. Yes.
Mr. Becerra?
Yes.
Mr. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Steyer?
Yes.
Mr. Bianco?
Only mental.
And Mr. Thurman?
Yes.
So to follow up with that, so Ms. Porter, while it's true homelessness impacts a wide range of people, to those down on their luck, fleeing violence, or living paycheck to paycheck, while the state can do better, there are services in place to help those individuals. So my question is, how do you help those who may be dealing with mental health and or drug addiction who repeatedly refuse service? You have 45 seconds.
That's a tough question.
So I worked on in Congress and passed a bill in the House called the Mental Health Justice Act. And one of the things it would do is create dedicated mental health responders in lieu of police. When someone has been unsheltered for a very long time and they have a serious mental illness or a serious substance use problem, it is very, very challenging to help them. What we've seen from the Care Court proposal that Governor Newsom rolled out is a big plan and very, very low take-up. So we need to have stronger provisions that let those who are on our streets helping be able to get those people the help that they need. There are people who are too ill and unable to make decisions for themselves, but we have to balance that against the state's long history and ugly history of incarcerating people for reasons that have nothing to do with either of those things, but track along race.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. So, Mr. Bianco, you have said in your interview with CBS that homelessness is a mental health and drug addiction issue. As governor, how would you help those people fleeing domestic violence, who lost their job, or dealing with unexpected illnesses or injury, who now no longer have a place to sleep? You have 45 seconds.
Yeah, here's the lie that all of these are trying to put onto all of these kids for them to believe. I'm the only one up here that has dealt with this for my entire career. 33 years of people living on the street, whether it's domestic violence, drugs, alcohol, or whatever the case may be. And I will tell you this, the amount of people that are on the street are completely opposite of what she wants to tell you. The ones that are there for how you describe students or kids that got kicked out of their house or domestic violence, we come across them all of the time and we jump for joy because we can actually help them. There are plenty of services for all of them, and we get them into the services when we find them. Absolutely. It's the drug and alcohol that we cannot get them into. Prop 36 has to be funded. We have to have mental health and drug and alcohol facilities to put them into. Now, the alcohol part, the drug part, that's against the law. We can.
Ms. Porter, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I ran a statewide foreclosure and eviction prevention program and sat across from thousands of families who were struggling to hang on to their homes. It's true that some people have mental health issues and substance use issues, but he doesn't have any concrete plans to do more for those, including around building more housing.
I have the only concrete plan.
Excuse me. I was the first Democrat leading a large city to support Prop 36. So I understand the need to be able to get people indoors when they're refusing help and harming the broader community. But Chad is wrong. We don't have enough beds for people. As mayor of San Jose, the third largest city in the state, we have led the way in reducing the number of people living outside by 1/3 by building basic dignified shelter, interim housing, treatment capacity, and requiring that people come indoors when it's available.
Giving them a solid roof instead of a tent.
We'll come back to you, Mr. Bianco. Thank you. Mr. Mahan, I want to follow up on that comment. As mayor of San Jose, you tout the accomplishments of reducing homelessness in your city, but in a recent clearing of an encampment called the Jungle, unhoused advocates in your city say you are not keeping promises of providing enough shelter to the more than 100 people in that specific camp. How do you answer critics who say you are forcing people to move without a viable place to go?
Damn.
Well, Sarah, I've had to take on advocates and interests in my city who have defended the status quo. The truth is we're closing the last large encampment in San Jose, formerly known as the Jungle. We did 50 days of outreach, offered every single person out there interim housing. That's a private room with a door that locks. And we have already moved over half of the people there indoors. We have offered folks a safe, dignified alternative to the streets. But when people repeatedly refuse to come indoors, that's a sign that their addiction, their mental health issue is a problem that they can't get a handle on. And the only compassionate thing to do is to intervene and get them into a safe space.
Could I offer another perspective? As a social worker, I've spent 20 years helping young adults leaving foster care get housing. You know, what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Bianco, is just horrendous. To blame the victims. We have 10,000 teenagers who are homeless.
I actually blamed you and your policies.
Well,
not
you can, but if you have any ideas, share them. Otherwise, stop wasting the public's dollars to steal ballots and to try and keep people from voting. And so, as I was saying, reclaiming my time, I'm working on a policy to provide subsidized housing and supports to our homeless teens and to pass a $10 billion bond to build affordable housing for those who are unhoused. That's the work that government's supposed to do.
So, Mr. Bianco, some people might say you're trying to arrest your way out of this problem.
You realize that we didn't have this problem before 2014 and Prop 47. When the government decided to lie to the people, call it safe schools and safe streets, and make drug use legal, make theft legal, and a whole mess of other crimes legal in California. That's why we're here from 2014. You just quick Google search about homeless, and it goes just like this from 2014 till now. That's why we're here, because of failed policies that every single one of them support. If we are not going to, before Prop 47 in 2014, the answer was not arrest. It was, we took them to court. I was a drug cop. Take them to court and say, do you want to go to jail or do you want to go to rehab? And the vast majority of them picked rehab. That's what we want. Prop 47 and these failed policies have made my jails the hotbed for mental health and drug addiction care, and that's not what they're supposed to be for, and it's their policies.
The reason your jails are that way is because you shouldn't have to go to jail to get substance abuse treatment. Don't
break the law.
Criminalize the victims.
Don't break the law.
Thank you, Mr. Bianco. So, Mr. Hilton, as the other Republican on stage, do you agree with your colleague, Mr. Bianco, or do you have a completely different approach to this?
You know, hearing this conversation, it just makes me heartbroken, really. We've got this situation in California that is completely unacceptable. This crisis that has gone on for so long, it shames our state. The fact that you've got people living in these conditions, we would never tolerate someone we love living in these conditions. And so we shouldn't accept it at all for people that we don't know. And so we got to have a clear and strong plan.
You don't have one either.
Number one, we have to enforce the law. It is illegal to live and camp on the streets. Number two, we have to get people into drug and alcohol treatment. Last year, Governor Newsom vetoed a bill that the Democrats passed in the state legislature, the Sober Housing Act. That is ridiculous. And number three, we need to increase mental health provision so we can take care of people where they should be, in mental health facilities, not in jail.
Thank you. Mr. Becerra, you have said we need to focus on accountability when it comes to the billions of dollars that have been spent already to solve the homelessness crisis. But you also gave Governor Newsom an A for effort on this issue. So my question is, are those billions of dollars well spent or not? You have 45 seconds.
Yeah, and Sarah, let me clarify. I gave the governor an A for effort for his work as governor, not on this particular issue. And what I will tell you is this, that we will not cycle people through the streets and into jails and just see that constant recycling. What we will do is we will build up the treatment facilities that we need. On my watch as HHS secretary, we launched 988. The program that now is used by millions of Americans throughout the country in the event that they have a suicide ideation, if they are suffering through mental health crises, they can now call and try to get the help that they need. But without a doubt, we have to demand accountability. When we put out a taxpayer dollar, we need to have accountability. And I would say the thing that's been missing in this conversation on homelessness is let's prevent people from losing their home. And I will act as governor to make sure that if you have suffered a loss of job, if you have a medical crisis, that we're not going to watch you lose your home. We will fight to help you keep it.
You guys didn't do that during COVID.
Villaraigosa, in our CBS California interview, you said we need to have, quote, locked institutions to deal with those on the streets who are dealing with mental health or drug issues. And under Ronald Reagan, many of those institutions were shut down, and you criticized your own party for not bringing them back. So as a former member of the state assembly, including speaker, do you bear some responsibility for not having those services in place?
I take responsibility. I was there 20 some odd years ago, but let's be clear. We spent $24 billion and homelessness went up. And it's true that we need drug rehab. It's true that we need mental health services. And it's true we need housing. The fact is, many of these people are homeless because they can't afford rent. We have the highest rent in the United States of America.
Rent control.
So we need an all of the above approach. And what I said was, for those people who are a threat to themselves and others, who their families trying to commit them, and you can't, it's almost impossible to do that. So we need to make the care courts accountable and the counties accountable with them.
Thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa. We have to hear from Mr. Steyer. You have said California's two solutions for homelessness of shelter and long-term housing does not work, and it's too expensive. But yet, you recently gave Governor Gavin Newsom a B- on how he has handled the crisis. If you were giving the governor a passing grade, would you make changes or would you just follow the same policies? You have 45 seconds.
I absolutely would have new policies. Nobody gets well on the street. And the policy that we have now to get people into permanent housing takes 7 years, and as has been said, has cost $24 billion. The truth is, we need to keep people from getting onto the street by giving them rent assistance when it's close.
Oh, my goodness.
We need to get people off the street as fast as possible. Only 1 of 7 people who go on the street have some form of mental health problem or drug addiction. Everybody is under amazing mental stress and pressure while they're on the street. That's why I am for emergency interim housing. Get people off the streets, keep them off the streets, and make sure that not only for their sake, because it's more compassionate, but also because we need livable, vibrant, urban neighborhoods where people are safe and like to live.
Thank you. We're going to move on and talk a little bit about wildfires and natural disasters, drought and extreme heat, which most scientists agree is made worse by climate change, have led to a surge in catastrophic wildfires across the state in the last 10 years alone. That includes 2 of the most destructive fires right here in Southern California. We also live in earthquake country. Mr. Becerra, you say you're running on experience. What are the first 3 things that you would do if you were governor and a natural disaster were to strike?
Sarah, we have to stop believing that we can get out of this mess unless we invest in prevention now, so we can avoid paying for failure later. And I would say this, ratepayers have to understand what their risk is so they understand why they are going to pay for help, what they're going to pay for their home insurance. But an insurance company has to be open and transparent about how it's pricing its policies so people can afford it. If you're going to buy a home in a wildfire risky area, you should know what your insurance rate will cost.
What are those first 3 things? If the fire's starting now, what are your immediate reactions?
Well, as I did when I was Secretary of Health and Human Services, where I declared disasters, I will go in and we will deploy our personnel and our resources to help those counties and those cities address the needs of those families immediately. We will make sure that when they file their claims, the insurance companies are responsive immediately. And we will make sure that we have the first responders that are necessary to make sure we deploy them where they're needed immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra. Mr. Bianco, the flames are rising and the winds are blowing. What are the first 3 things you would do as governor?
Well, that's too late by then. That's what we don't want. Why are we talking about after instead of the root causes? The root causes were not because of climate change. The root causes, ask anyone, ask the insurance companies. They told Newsom for 5 years that this was going to happen because of failed environmental activism policies that do not allow the clearing of brush and the fuel for these fires before they take over cities. This is 100% done by failed policies in California. The Palisades fire.
The question, sir, is what are you going to do today? We're sitting in Claremont on the base of the San Gabriel Mountains. If a fire breaks out tonight,
he doesn't have any ideas. He doesn't know what to do.
Sir, I'll answer the
Actually, I've been protecting you for my entire career from policies that you have made, that every single one of you have made, that I have suffered the consequences while I've been trying to keep them safe, working hand in hand with the fire department for 33 years. And you know who's not being asked? The fire department, because the fire department will tell you, CAL FIRE and every city and state agency will tell you that it is government policies that do not allow them to fix before in the off season. And
I can answer that question.
Thank you, Mr. Bianco. Mr. Mahan, what are your first actions as governor?
As a mayor of a big city, I've gone through emergencies. You declare a disaster. You set up an emergency operations center. You allow. Yes, that was the question, Chad.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, Matt.
Just to finish the point.
Then let's go to that, because that was not the question. The question was, here comes the fire. What are you going to do?
Please, Mr. Bianco, you had your time, Mr. Mahan.
That wasn't the question.
I'd love to just answer the question, which is you set up that emergency operations center. You let first responders and professionals lead, but you provide the communication backbone. You assure the public. You are out there every day backing up your public staff in the delivery of services. I also need to make another point, though, which is that Javier Becerra keeps touting his experience and then says he's going to study something. He'll figure it out once he's elected. The secretary has never met a crisis that he couldn't ignore. whether it was migrant children, the 85,000 who were lost, monkeypox, where we were slow to respond and then blamed the gay community for the crisis, or COVID, where the Biden administration had to sideline them. So I think we should be really clear about what kind of experience we need. It's experience that has delivered results for people.
Mr. Becerra, you'd like to respond?
Oh, absolutely. You're not wearing a mask, are you, Matt? You are not worrying about catching monkeypox, right? We were able to deal with these crises. And remember, what we did was we addressed them with the 50 states nationally, and we deployed the resources and the personnel that were needed. We got out of these crises. Today, the economy is not worried about COVID because we made sure that 700 million COVID vaccines went into the arms of Americans, and never once did anyone, whether you're insured or not, have to worry about whether or not you'd have to pay for them. And even those who provided deceptive information about the vaccines got the vaccines.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra. Mr. Villaraigosa, you wanted to get in on this one.
And he was fired.
Yes. I also was a mayor during some big fires and big disasters. What would I do as governor, though? Let me be clear. We got to expand CAL FIRE. We do have to do a lot more with prescribed burns. We got to fix the insurance crisis because the people that were affected by this fire, aren't able to replace their homes. We got to do an all of the above strategy that understands that climate change is here and it has exacerbated it, but we can mitigate those changes with the right decisions.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Steyer, since they brought up insurance, you had backed the Affordable Insurance and Climate Recovery Act, which authorized the state attorney general to sue fossil fuel companies for damages linked to climate disasters to help blunt rising insurance costs. But that initiative actually failed last week in the Senate Insurance Committee. So how would you as governor advance that? You have 45 seconds.
Advance what?
The Insurance and Climate Recovery Act that you backed.
Okay, so let's be clear. The oil companies have been polluting and knowingly polluting for 45 years.
Your talking points are 20 plus years
old. It has caused
old.
great damage to the people of California. In fact, it is a reason we're getting warm, and it is a reason we've had these fires that have dramatically hurt people
So
in
you were
Altadena
causing
and
great
Pacific
damage
Palisades.
while you were investing in them?
Excuse me?
So the fossil fuel companies were causing great damage while you were investing in them?
And so it is time that that act which I was pushing is the idea that they should pay back for polluting. In environmentalism, I have three real rules. Number one is polluter pays. It's absolutely critical that if people are going to pollute and damage the environment and cause harm to their neighbors, they pay. Two, we have to include environmental justice in every single environmental rule. And third is we need to start to deploy all of the clean energy stuff that's cheaper now and get us back to the front of the world in leading it. It's true the fossil fuel companies are still providing gasoline to us at inflated prices. We need to make them pay for the costs that they have had, including all the houses that burned down.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Steyer.
the insurance costs that people are paying to insure those houses.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Ms. Porter, you would like to react?
Yeah, in Congress, I had a track record of making polluters pay, raising the royalty rate for a rental rate and royalty rate for those who drilled, raising bonding requirements to make sure polluters clean up their mess. But you now want to talk about polluters pay, but really I think what we should be asking you is how about profiteers pay?
Ooh.
You paid the lowest tax rate on this stage, and yet you made the billions that you're using to fund your campaign off fossil
Gloves
fuels.
are coming off.
So let me say this. In this campaign, there is one person that the corporations are going after, including big oil, who is spending millions of dollars to stop me. The electric monopolist, PG&E, millions of dollars to stop me, because I'm the person on this stage who's the change agent. I'm the person who's going to drive down costs for the people of California by taking on the special interests. And they are spending tens of millions to stop me. That's how you know I'm for real. Because
Thank you, Mr.
they think
Steyer.
I'm for real, and they're spending tens of millions of dollars to stop me because they're scared of me.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. Mr. Hilton, we didn't forget about you. In your 2002 book, Good Business, you argued for corporate responsibility and with Prime Minister Cameron, whom you advised. He campaigned on a green platform. Yet you have accused California officials of climate hypocrisy. What specifically would you do as governor to help reverse the trend of these increasing wildfires?
So Chad made some very good points on prevention. And I'd just like to build on that. If you look at one of the really bad years for wildfires in recent memory, 2019, The mega wildfires we saw then produced more carbon emissions than the previous 20 years of climate policy actually saved. So if we want to reduce carbon emissions and protect against wildfires, and by the way, revive our timber industry so we can produce timber for building the homes we need in California, there's a very simple common sense way to do it, which is to have modern forest management so we don't have the fuel load in our forests. We can create jobs and opportunity in rural California and reduce carbon emissions in the process because we won't have the mega wildfires.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton.
Okay, so now let's go to our student question. Joining us now is Dante Gilbert from Pomona College with a question, a lightning round question on immigration. Dante?
Hello, my name is Dante Gilbert. I'm an American Studies student from St. Paul, Minnesota. So California is a sanctuary state, and yet states are limited in the way they can respond to federal ICE and Customs and Immigration. ICE forces. In Hennepin County, Minnesota, local law enforcement has begun to bring charges against ICE agents for assault. As governor, would you support district attorneys bringing such charges against federal agents?
Oh, you're declaring civil war there.
Yes. This is a yes or no question. We're going to go down the line. Mr. Thurmond?
Yes.
Mr. Bianco?
No.
Mr. Steyer?
Yes.
Mr. Hilton?
No.
Mr. Becerra?
Absolutely.
Ms. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Mahan?
Yes, if they violate the law.
And Mr. Villaraigosa?
2 yeses.
Thank you, folks. And finally, people are looking for hope. Why should they trust that you will deliver that hope? You have 30 seconds, please. We'll begin with Mr. Villaraigosa.
When I became mayor, I said, dream with me. I'd improve our schools, and we had a 60% increase in the graduation rate.
What were the reading levels?
I said, dream with me. We'll make the city safer, and crime went down 48%. I said, dream with me. We'll build a subway to the sea, and that subway is getting built. Go with me because I want to be transformational, because I understand that the crisis we face in this state is too great, that we have to take on powerful interests to fix this crisis. I'd be honored to have your support.
Thank you, sir.
A lot of platitudes.
Mr. Thurmond.
A better California is possible. Tonight, you've heard me be very specific about the policies that I would bring forward. My 18 years of experience as an elected official, 20 running nonprofits, my vision for the state: we can build 2 million housing units. We will tax billionaires. We will provide a tax credit to working people to have more money in your pocket to pay for the rising cost of gas, groceries, and housing. We will have single payer, and we will fight back on Donald Trump's reckless immigration policy and elect someone with the lived experience who understands those who are struggling in our state. I fight for the working people, and that's what we'll do as governor.
Mr. Mahan.
Voters can trust me, and I will give them hope because I know what it looks like to achieve the American dream in California, and I know it's closed off to far too many. As mayor of the third largest city in California, I've led us to build thousands of new homes, reduce crime by over 20%, gun violence by over 70%, and we have 1/3 fewer people living on our streets. And I've done that without raising taxes, with a balanced budget, and when necessary, by challenging the establishment within my own party. That's what leadership looks like.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Porter.
Californians can trust me because I'm the only candidate on this stage that refuses corporate donations. The only one.
Really?
That's because I'm willing to take on the status quo. I'm willing to go against the grain and fight for a better California. I am not for sale, not at any price. I'm a single mom of 3 teenagers. I worry that that one kid is never going to get off my couch and get into a home. I'm somebody who's concerned about childcare because I've paid the bills and I've gassed up my minivan.
Thanks, Ms. Porter. Mr. Becerra.
Platitudes.
I grew up in a home of working parents, and I saw what it was to struggle. I know what we need today. We need to fight for the hardest working and the lowest paid. We have to fight for the next generation so they can believe that they will have the opportunity to afford to buy a house. But here's what else I know. The governor's office is not a place with training wheels. You need people who have experienced those challenges, have dealt with national crises, who have taken on the biggest menace in Washington, D.C., sued him over 120 times and defeated him. I'm going to fight for the hardest working and lowest paid and those young people who need to buy that house.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bianco.
Yeah, every single person on this stage is either a career politician, a career strategist, or use the money to support them that brought us to this position today of the hour and a half that you're never going to get back. Everything in California is broken because of their policies, and I've spent 33 years of irrefutable service to the public with transparency, honesty, integrity, and most important, leadership. And that is what this state is desperately deserving. I'm sorry that you have been lied to for most of your life.
Thank you, Mr. Bianco. Mr. Steyer.
So the problem in California is people can't afford to live here anymore, can't afford to buy a house, and aren't getting the education they deserve. And in order to change that, we're going to have to take on the corporate special interests that are driving up your costs and profiting off you. I am the person who is willing to do that. I am the change agent. And you know it because they're spending money against me in the tens of millions of dollars.
Oh, stop.
And the people who support me are progressives, environmentalists, and unions, including teachers and nurses.
Thank you for
If you
telling me
want change,
how not-
there's
and why
only
not to
one
vote for
person
you.
on the stage they're scared of.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hilton.
So I'd like to go back to Chloe's question, which I'm afraid I didn't have the chance to answer. Chloe, you nailed it. We've got to be a state again where we build things, just as in the golden age of California, where we built the magnificent suburbs of Southern California, the UC campuses, incredible infrastructure. I've got the broad experience to get that done, most of my career in business, but also working in government, the deep policy expertise, detailed plans, and also building a team to get it done so we can
Thank
make
you
our
so
state
much. Thanks so
golden
much.
again.
Thanks again to all of the candidates for joining us for the CBS California Governor's Debate.
Have a great night, everyone.
Well, that went just about as I expected. I expected a crap show. I was just wondering how long it would take until it got to that point. Once I saw what the setup was and it was going to be like 30 minutes or so, 30 seconds or 45-second responses. I'm like, are you kidding me? For 8 people? Not all of them are going to get an equal amount of time. So it wasn't going to take too long into some of them are about to speak over one another or attack one another. And as you could see, as the clock was winding down on the debate, that's when the gloves came off to attack the so-called frontrunner on the Democrat Party, which in this case, depending on which poll you look at, either Tom Steyer or Javier Becerra. I have history with Javier Becerra for why I have a great disdain for him. So that's to the extent of what I'll say about that. But what I can tell you is that his record on its own and his overreach as the health and our health secretary at the HHS, awful record. This guy would take your parental rights away just to push his agenda on you. And there he was standing up there saying that he's trying to fight for you. No, if he doesn't like what you're doing, he will use the government apparatus against you, just like he did when he was taking parental rights away from you because he wanted to do something to your kids, such as transing them. So when you look at his record and the fact that Julie Watts, that's her name, Julie Watts, I found her on X and I found her on Instagram and I started following her. I love how she held everyone's feet to the fire. I think she was an equal opportunity individual to just address all of them and push back as needed on certain things. I remember why I recognized her. She was the one that had the Katie Porter's infamous interview with just the one question that seemed enough pushback that Katie Porter got up and left. So if she can't handle a simple question that was not meant to be so aggressive, but Katie Porter took it as aggressive and left, how could Katie Porter have any ability to handle the stress of being governor of the state? She doesn't. She won't. And if you want any more proof, that's why I kept asking, because she kept touting, I'm a single mother. I'm a single mother. What did you do to your husband, Katie Porter, for why you're a single mother? I think everybody needs to know that you are a domestic violence abuser of your husband. You threw scalding mashed potatoes, allegedly, at him. And why should people vote for someone like that? In the case of Javier Becerra, again, don't trust him. Villaraigosa, he's the old-fashioned progressive, the liberal that I miss debating, honestly, because they almost sound like they have the right way and approach, and it almost seems that their policies would work. They almost convince you that they do, and they rely on facts, some statistics, even if those numbers are a little bit fudged, just like Villaraigosa was saying, oh, yeah, graduations from high school kept going up. Yes, but the standards kept dropping, okay? So just like Gavin Newsom was touting, oh, unhoused homeless has gone down. They're still homeless, dude. You just changed the name and the labels. You moved them to some other place and called it unhoused homeless, but technically they're still going the homelessness column because they don't have a place that's truly called home. See, this is what they do. This is all politics. It's like a marketing gimmick and all that, so they can prop themselves up. But there's only so much you can do before reality bites you in the butt, and that's what you face when you're dealing with California. Because Gavin has no answer when you push back on him. It's like, oh yeah, because of Trump, you're paying way more fuel. A buddy of mine from Florida gave me a bunch of stickers today, and it's a Trump sticker that says "I did that," and he told me, "Hey, go put these on the gas pumps." And I was laughing because I'm like, "Dude, no, these I need the Gavin Newsom ones to say I did that. I'm gonna go put these on the egg prices that have gone down. I'm gonna go put them over there." It's like, wait, no, we were having fun, just playful roasting of one another, and that's fine, that's hilarious, but that is a matter of fact. Why is it that as soon as you cross the California boundary, somehow gas prices drop by at least $3? Why are we more expensive? And then you heard Tom Steyer quite literally, if possible, say that we should be 100% dependent on our oil from elsewhere. We should be the one providing oil if we're the so-called fourth largest economy. But that's not what you're seeing. And that's the frustration in all this, folks, because these are the people, someone on that stage is more likely than not going to be the next governor. And the apparatus that has been set up here in California, literally rigged voting. Okay. And I'm not talking about the whole stealing, like what happened in 2020. I'm talking about legally rigged voting. You're not paying attention to local matters because you're too distracted by Washington politics. You're too distracted about Iran and Israel, the stuff that literally doesn't affect you. But you're being made to believe that your money is going over there for XYZ, and that's where everything goes. And when you look at the budget, it's like a minuscule thing, if at all. What matters is what happens at the local levels. And with California, if you're not familiar with this, California legally had set up so many different things that allow for election rigging, such as ballot harvesting. Are you familiar with what ballot harvesting is? People were finally waking up to this fact. Dinesh D'Souza, whether you like him or not, had done a documentary called 2,000 Mules. He partnered up with We the People or True the Vote that were looking into supposed mules that were allegedly stuffing the ballot boxes of these drop-by mail boxes during the 2020 election. There is truth to that. Then, of course, there's the accusations against Dominion, which you cannot prove. You cannot prove. I talk about tech, that one you cannot prove. So let's talk about the ballot ones, though. So when you're having issues with that, there's a reason the documentary did not use anything from California, because that is legal in California. That happens a lot. Hospice care, anywhere that has a concentration of people, you would have these activists that show up to collect the ballots. I property manage properties in Los Angeles. We have a lot of elderly tenants, and they're the ones that are telling myself or the property owner of people that are coming by to collect the ballots. We wouldn't have to collect the ballots on this issue if Gavin Newsom didn't make it law that now we have unsolicited mail-in ballots. So you don't have to ask for it anymore for 2020. It's all being sent to you. And then people can take those things. They go around collecting it. It's like, but I didn't vote. It's like, oh, well, just sign right here and vote this way. And boom, some of them are none the wiser. And people, and DMV, for example, if you were going to DMV, there would be all these register to vote things there. And you had illegals registering for voting. That wasn't happening. Yes, it was. So when you have all of these mechanisms that were put in place legally, that is why you have this situation where some people are just fed up with voting. You have voter fatigue because it's like, what's the point? That's why sometimes you'll hear, oh, it's too big to steal. That was what 2024 was and all that. Look, the fact of the matter is that California is a tall order. And right now the Democrats, as you saw on stage, for those of you that actually watched the debate with me, thank you so much for those of you that joined me across all the different platforms. And I see some comments coming up. I'll catch up. The problem continues to be that people are not paying attention to locals. I told you that we have the primary coming up in June 2nd. That's a Tuesday. This is for Orange County. And I thought it was just going to be for the governors, but there's actually county supervisor in here, and I think superintendent, and member of the state senate. So there's a lot more in here. And if you're just focused on the governor, and then you got to pick among a bunch of other names that do not have a D or an R next to them, now you got to decide. See, I'm going to be talking about certain issues, and I see some people chiming in on YouTube, and I'll catch up on that. This is going out to those of you over on Partners Play TV, YouTube, X. I have a big viewership over on X. I pulled up X on a third monitor, so if some of you are trying to chime in there, I hope to be able to see your comments as they come in. X is a little different, but there's a lot of you actually over on X, so I'll try to catch up. But the thing is that when you have a system that's already been done that way, now what do we have on the ballot coming up for November? We have an opportunity to get voter ID passed. Do we have a shot at that? Hey, it's on it. Therefore, yes, there is that hope, that we can, if properly done, vote for it. There are some people that voted for Prop 50 accidentally in favor of something that they didn't understand, because a lot of these things are done by design to confuse you. But if the Democrats actually told you the truth about their policies, then you realize, oh, crap, heck no. That's why I'm glad that Chad Bianco kept emphasizing that to a bit of a hostile crowd, because the cat was out of the bag as soon as, was it Thurman? I forget his name. When he said something against Chad Bianco, and then you had the crowd cheer Thurman, who was the most communist up there, I felt. So when Chad called out the vaccine, it's not a vaccine, it was a shot, and he got booed because he called it out for what it was, then that's where you have that issue. So voter ID, while there's that hope, you have the do-nothing Republicans that were making money for their campaigns, fundraising off, we got to stop the steal, we got to take back integrity of our elections, and they have yet to do anything about the Save America Act, the one that's supposed to be at the federal level, fix our elections, or at least put in some kind of safeguards, which would be it will go a long way to doing and accomplishing something major for the future generations. But they can't even do that. They can't even do that. Local is where it's at. It's where it matters the most. It's what affects you on the daily basis, not the foreign policy crap that's always taking up the news cycles as if it's actually the thing that matters when you go to the freaking supermarket. And I'm going to break down my analysis of specifically some of my top reactions to some of these candidates. And I said I'm going to put a pin on the discussion of hardening homes that are close to like wildfire regions and stuff, because it's supposed to be some way, somehow, a way to protect against the wildfires. But let me catch up on some comments here. I got, it says undocumented criminality over on YouTube. You're responding to my comments here, or my commentary, I should say, because you're the one that's putting comments. You're putting, at a local level, we waste so many billions on illegals every year. No wonder the state is broke. Yes, that's only a one aspect of just so much that's wasteful spending here, and the fraud and all that, because in some cases it's not actually going to the illegals, it's going to the non-government organizations that are pocketing that money in the name of supposedly helping the illegals. But early on in the debate, there was a discussion about, Trump cut the federal funding for Medicaid or whatever, or Medi-Cal, and it was like, oh my gosh, what are you guys going to do, and whatever, and everybody was coming after Steve Hilton because he was endorsed by Trump. So as they came after him in all this, I'm glad that Steve Hilton didn't back down there and apologize for that. I'm glad. And Chad Bianco actually pushed back even against you Democrats about it. But the thing is, not one of them mentioned that, like, all they said was, the Democrats said this, 3 million members of oh my goodness, what's it called? Medi-Cal? Medicaid? All these different things are the same freaking thing. But then they said that they lost their coverage. They lost their coverage, and now we got to help them. Well, who's the one who lost it? Are they California residents? Because I can tell you that illegal immigrants get all the benefits. Why is it that they get all the benefits, but the California resident is the one trying to get the crumbs of anything? it's like they don't care about you. They just want you to fund their apparatus that keeps them going because power corrupts the corruptible. And yeah, a lot of money spent there. The biggest wasteful spending of all is, well, at least in my opinion, is homelessness. That's the big one. A lot of money has gone in that. Let me continue reading here. Nursing homes and mail-in ballots, huge issue. Absolutely, absolutely. That's the point that I was making. And no chance the left will find a way to cheat the system. Voter ID won't pass. Look, the fact of the matter is that you are to some extent correct. But, and there's the big fat but. The thing that gives me hope that there's still some kind of rationale, and I'm someone that's more, I've been more of a pessimist my whole life. So now I just call myself a realist. I can be optimistic about certain things. But here's the part that gives me a bit of hope. The same people that sometimes vote for ridiculous things, such as, hey, let's tax the billionaires, because that's what they're doing again. Let's tax the billionaires. Remember that millionaire tax on mansions, supposedly? And then after it passed, people were like, wait, that wasn't a millionaire tax on their mansions? We have to pay? No, duh. Every single time this happens. It happens all the time, and you still fall for the same trick. So the whole thing about rigging the system and all that, but we have yet, it always seems like it's almost close, but the same people keep voting no for statewide rent control. Rent control at its essence is Marxism. Karl Marx said that communism can be summed up in one sentence: the abolition of private property. And every single time it's on the ballot, it's failed to pass. Now, it will rear its ugly head because it's always being brought up because they hope that maybe this time it'll pass. The tenant activist groups always want to put this in there. And for some reason, an AIDS Foundation is the one that's oftentimes the main sponsor of these legislations, which makes no sense. Like, what's that got to do with rent control? And speaking of rent control, Villaraigosa, that's the problem that you don't understand. You say, oh, we got to keep people in their homes. Wasn't that the whole point of rent control that was instituted in 1978? I did an entire episode on this. You guys can go check it out on my live stream. So then you have, I saw that one. Yeah, and I see it on the feed here. So then you have this thing, right? Where it's like, rent control was instituted as a way to keep the rents affordable while reducing homelessness. And what do you have in Los Angeles? The highest rates of homelessness and the highest rental rates in the country. In the country. So why do we need more of the same thing that doesn't work? And you love Bianco. Yes, I do have I have issues with both Bianco and Steve Hilton. But hey, one or the other as either governor and lieutenant governor, man, that'd be pretty cool. But we'll see how the primaries go. I know it's a tough one, and it's kind of splitting the vote for a lot of people. And as we get closer to the June 6th, or June 2nd, we'll see how that goes. I didn't think California will vote against gay marriage, but they did. So anything can happen. That was Proposition 8. Yes, I think that was 2008, 2010. Proposition 8. Yeah, that was a very big deal. I was very much campaigning in support of Proposition 8 and a bunch of local churches that were trying to preserve the union between man and a woman and its definition properly. Where they were confused by the title because when the gay activist groups, the alphabet community, were pushing for this, they said protect marriage, vote no on Proposition 8. So some churches were actually that intended to keep marriage between a man and a woman were saying you got to vote no to protect marriage. And I had to come along and say, no, I think you mean the opposite if you want to protect marriage as you see it because of XYZ reasons. So then when they saw that, they're like, holy smokes, you're right. So these things are set up to confuse you. But the reality continues to be that people, and this goes to my side, okay? There's low information voting all across the board. We got to return voting to a privilege instead of being assumed that it's a right. Tom Steyer was on stage saying that healthcare is a right. No, it's not. It's not a right. That's why every time they say it's a right, that means the government should fund it. That is communism speak because it's trying to pull at your heartstrings, and then you end up getting you end up like having an emotional connection to that lie because, well, what is the road to help pave with? Good intentions. So while you see these good intentions, they haven't amounted to anything. And then you have Javier Becerra defending why he would not give a gas tax holiday or suspend it. Why wouldn't he do that? Because our roads need to be fixed. Dude, why haven't they been fixed? Why does it take 6 months in Los Angeles to replace a freaking street light? Why is Karen Bass right now campaigning to raise the taxes on homeowners to pay for the stolen copper wiring off the lights? It's insane. It's pure insanity. And the fact that Karen Basura still has a chance of being reelected, man, is LA truly beyond saving? Oh man, that's definitely a stressful thought when you really think about it. Some more comments. Illegal immigration is the biggest factor in housing in California, or do you see a single bigger factor? Think 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 residents are illegal. See, here's the thing. I have heard some numbers thrown around like that, and you have Los Angeles being a Los Angeles is a sanctuary city, but I think that you actually this was a lot more nuanced. Some people actually failed to understand how this actually works. So Los Angeles, California too, using the fair housing defense, continues to find ways to have property owners avoid looking at, say, requiring credit scores or requiring like proof of evictions and things like that, or judgments against them in order to be considered for rental applications. Some of those things are just even recently there. And to some, they'll see it as a way to protect those that are either low income or no income, or in some cases, illegal immigrants. The thing is that property owners, they're more interested in getting people in their property that will pay. And people that are taken care of, that can pay for the unit, will more likely than not be an excellent tenant. The principle is kind of like the 80-20 rule when it comes to business. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers, the loyal consumer. If businesses were to give all that up and to focus on trying to get new customers, their loyal customers will go elsewhere. They don't want to lose their loyal customers. They'll treat them even better. So in the case of housing, I can tell you through, this is anecdotal, and that's the thing though, that some of these people will not be surveyed. Because why would they? Why would they want to out themselves in some cases? I have seen undocumented individuals, illegal immigrants, because not all undocumented are illegal. I'm just saying people that could not present like some kind of things because either they're too lazy to get something, or they work in cash. Because they want to stick it to the system. I don't want taxes. And then when they want to buy a house, they're like, well, you don't have any tax returns, so now they can't get a loan. So like, oh man, so like I have to report my taxes. So yeah, technically you do. So I can't just show my cash. Only if you're buying the whole thing on cash. So they can't get a loan. They need some kind of credit history. Well, some of these people, somehow, some way, never miss a rental payment. And usually it's the so-called educated and entitled residents that are the most troublesome. That's been an experience that I've seen. And this is all anecdotal, but I'm just giving you an example of what Southern California has been like, because that's the kind of diverse population you'll find here. Now, there's some health and safety concerns, because I've seen scenarios where there's property owners that rent out a garage to 20 people. It's like, dude, what the heck, man? That thing catches on fire. Holy smokes. That's probably going to be hanged for it if California were to enforce capital punishment. But the thing is that's why housing is in of it itself a very complex issue. And that's why when you start seeing all these buildings being built out, where usually it's commercial at the bottom and the residential at the top, or some tract homes being built, or townhouses being put together, and some of them are like, they are put up really quick, because there's some companies like that know that once they're approved to do this, they got to move quick. because if they miss the deadline, then what happens? Then the new building codes will have to be complied with, and then they have to go back to the planning phase to get the plans approved by the planning department. If there's a change in the building code that affects them, that will then cause the building cost to go higher. So some of these are cookie cutter. Then there's other ones that just slow ball the thing so they can submit change orders to continue to get more tax money out of it. Case in point, LAX. They always say they're improving it, but they've been improving it for half of my life. I'm like, where are the improvements, dude? Except the international terminal. I have seen the improvements, but did it really take 15 years to do all that? I'm just throwing numbers out here. But then when it comes to housing, they keep building it, but because we have rent stabilization ordinance, or better known as rent control for people that don't know all the terminologies, you have the situation where it's like they have to price out. They have to create a luxury apartment top tier so they can price it as high as they can in market value, because from there, the price is then capped on a schedule from 1% to 3% increments of rental increases every year. And if they want to raise the rent beyond that, they need approval from the local housing development or department. Why on earth would they want to make an affordable unit? And because the state realizes that, that's why they're forcing these builders that, okay, you're going to build this, but now you're required that 30% of these units being built are for low income to homelessness housing. It's like the people that are living there are concerned about raising their children and do not want them being mixed with individuals that might be at high risk of public safety, or those that are strung up on drugs or alcoholics. So it's like, okay, fine, we have to make 2 entrances. You cannot do that because you're discriminating against the other people. You have to have a single entrance for both of them. That's the kind of crap that happens because the state is trying to force these builders to build it in that way. And then what happens? Those that want to have raise a family in a safe environment won't find that place safe, and they'll go somewhere else. And when they're tired of that, they just leave the state if they got nothing else left. And here's the craziest part. No apartment pricing affects the prices of actual homes you can buy. The only thing that affects the prices of homes you can buy are homes you can buy, because that's how the comparisons work when you are selling, buying, trading homes. All the values are compared to the other home. And they're not building that. They're building apartments. And then you have a mass exodus of people living because rents are in some cases more expensive than mortgages. That's insane. Look at what's happened at the Palisades. I forget the number, but the number was so small about how many permits have been approved and how many homes have been built. I covered this in a recent stream, and I don't want to screw all the numbers out up, but you can go back and check out those streams. But let me catch up on your comments, because you've been putting a lot in here. It's complicated. I get it. Yes, absolutely. What I see is 7 or more people living in a 3-person residence. Sure, they pay rent, but there's 10 cars in the driveway. That you know what? Can I put this on the screen here? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm so glad you brought this up. Okay, because this is what it takes to be building homes in the state of California, at least how it used to be. But hold on, let me, before I really get too thick into the weeds here. I don't know. I can't see the comments over there on Play TV. But Trinity, I hope you were able to tune in, because if you're messaging me on Parler, I can't tune into it right now because I'm live and I need to also be sure to I wind this down. Let me just make sure I'm over on my show. There it is. And for those of you that watch on, oh my goodness, that's loud. For those of you watching on Rumble, first off, thank you so much. But I will be probably spending a little bit of time on Rumble Premium, depending on how this goes. But I might raid another stream. Vapin Gamers is on. I might stream over to Vapin Gamers. He was on my show recently, so good guy. But for those of you, thank you so very much. For those of you watching on X, that's my biggest audience right now. So here's the thing. What I see are 7 or more people living in a 3-person residence. And in some cases, in those situations, I got to tell you, yeah, those multi-generational families have had to move in together. But I also seen the other part where I've seen senior citizens that live in a home by themselves, and their children that have grown up, have families of their own, they're living out of state or somewhere else in the state, but nowhere near their parents. That's what I deal with for a living. Some of these homes have not been upkept in maybe a couple of decades or more. And these are some of the homes that go out to the market finally. But I did talk about that in my stream where I break down propositions. I think it's 15, 19, and I think there's one more. I forget. It's Proposition 13. I recommend you tune into that one if you really want to see the breakdown of generational wealth and how California has pretty much destroyed it, because there's a lot that goes on there. And I pulled up, for those of you on X, I pulled up on my third monitor just in case some comments do come through. I'll try to catch them because you guys do. I do have the biggest audience there right now for the stream. So thank you very much. But yeah, so when you have that many people living in a car, I mean, in a property, and they have multiple vehicles, they're taking up the street traffic and all that. There used to be a rule against that. All that went away through something called the accessory dwelling unit rule, ADU. An ADU is what you probably hear about legally being able to convert a garage into a livable space. So you can turn it into a unit if you only have a house and a garage detached. Then you can turn it into another unit for housing and legally get what is called a certificate of occupancy, where now you have the ability to legally rent it out. But now if you're in a rent stabilization ordinance area, now you let the LA housing department, for example, start coming to your property unannounced because you have a rental property here, so now it's under our jurisdiction. That's how they were able to get a foothold on single family residents that actually take advantage of ADUs to rent them out publicly, because now you got to register the unit publicly with LA. And that's an example of an RSO. So when they did that for the accessory dwelling unit, here's the problem though. But a garage is considered parking. If I'm using it for housing, that means I need to have an alternative car space for parking. That was a required law. And here's from my experience. I bought a property in Los Angeles County. And it's a small house sitting on the front of the yard, and the rest of the backyard, a huge backyard. Only a garage to the left side and just unused space. So the potential was, hey, let's demolish this garage, build a bigger house in the back, and then put a carport in between so there's garage space or like a covered parking space. Because the county required parking areas for said houses. And depending on the amount of bedrooms, sometimes would dictate how many parking spaces were required that you leave in your property for said property. So technically, 2 houses in the lot was a duplex. And I put a carport in between. That was the law as required at the time by Department of Building and Safety. Because they knew that removing car space, like a garage, would fly in the face of that requirement, it was eliminated altogether. So when now you're doing an ADU, you're not required to have parking space. But you know why? Not only because they use available housing as the excuse for why we don't have enough housing, so you need to be able to build more housing. That's what they always say, right? That's what they always say. But then what becomes the problem? But there's nowhere to park the cars. Now they found a way to do this though. Then that means they'll be limited to how many cars they can own now, can't they? That means they'll be forced onto ride shares or public transit. They're out. That's what they want. Because if you own a car, you also have freedom to move. And that's what they don't want. Who's they? The government. They've said it. They want to get you to a point like the World Economic Forum has announced since 2016, where you will own nothing and be happy. The idea is don't worry about these expenses because you'll still be able to enjoy all this living without the high cost of living. You'll be able to mass transit. Everything will be within 15 minutes from you in a 15-minute city, etc. And they found a way to eliminate our private property, be it the need for a car because now I don't have any place to park it, therefore I can't have it. or a home that decided to build an ADU, rent it out, and now I got LAHD all over me. Rent control. I can't do anything with my own property. It's insane. I did an entire episode on what that is. So yeah, it's you have multi-generational living in that sense. In some sense, they're all living together to pay a mortgage, not just the rent. But then, like I said, some rents are more expensive than mortgages. It's crazy. But you've been chiming in a lot here. Undocumented criminality. The way it works in the Bay Area, it's low income for 2 years, and the unit goes up to market rate. That's fascinating. Yeah, San Francisco has one of the oldest RSOs as well. I don't know if low income is also the subsidized income that they refer to, or it might mean that for the first 2 years that a unit is available, must be available to low income housing, and after that time, if they don't get somebody in there, it could be that now they can rent it out to supposed market rent somewhere else. The thing is, the one rule in a RSO area in which you were able to bring the unit to market rent is that you make the improvements to the unit. So when a property owner has a vacancy, and let's just say someone has been living there for 10 years, they were paying maybe $500 for the unit. I'm using real numbers, by the way. And now it's like, well, how do you make something back when market rate is like $1,500, $1,700? It's like, well, the way you convince LAHD, for example, because I'm speaking from experience, is that now you rehab the unit. And before, LAHD was fine with you proving that what was dilapidated now looks really good, and they won't hold it against you when you're charging market rent. But now they're requiring you to get a permit. So when you get a permit, that's the proof that they need, because Department of Building and Safety has been all over this, and you did it the right way. Okay, great, supposedly. All right, so now the unit is done this way. Well, there's something called vacancy decontrol. Vacancy decontrol is a practice where if you have a vacancy in your unit and you make the improvements anyway, you got the permit, you did the whole 9 yards, you got a new kitchen, you got new flooring, you paint job and all this different things. You added a new heater, whatever it is, or an air conditioner because you don't have a choice because now the laws require me to do that. You did all that, but in the vacancy decontrol situation, the $500 rent that I just told you that was being paid by the previous tenant that was paying for whatever 10, 15 years must carry over to the other one. What incentive is there for a property owner to make any improvements? Zero. There's no incentive to that. No incentive. So it's crazy. That's what this stuff is. Rent control or rent stabilization ordinance is communism. Communism is theft. Communism has failed every single time it's been tried, and that's what's contributed or the main cause of our housing problems in California. And when it comes to, I think it was Javier Becerra, I want to help the property owners, the property residents. After COVID, who got all of like a bailout or assistance? Tenants did. Say, but hey, the homeowner could ask for a mortgage deference from their mortgager. Do you know what a deference means? A deference, some mortgage services allowed for up to 6 months. What that meant was, we understand you're not working, so you're not paying your mortgage. And you can not, we'll let you go up to 6 months without paying your mortgage. But on the 7th month, you owe 6 months worth of mortgage plus the 7th month. Tell me which tenant, because there's a lot of eviction courts that were way backlogged after it was opened up in Los Angeles. How many tenants didn't even pay their rent? There are some tenants that went up to 4 years without paying rent. And then when the property owner tried to go to eviction court, the tenant ended up getting up and leaving. But the property owner wanted to go to eviction court so it can be on the tenant's record. But here's the problem. You had the backlog at the courthouse because it's years worth of stuff. So they may or may not even look at it. So now the property owner was being told, well, the only way you can get a recourse is to go sue them in small claims court. But small claims is capped at $10,000. And in some cases, some of these tenants were owing anything from $40,000 to $100,000 in back rent. None of those property owners could get it back. The person that left didn't leave a callback number. They didn't leave a forwarding address. So Javier Becerra, screw you. Anecdotal. My neighbors, Latinos, have 3 non-working cars in the driveway, garage converted into a room, and 7 cars in the street parked perpendicular. And 7 cars parked perpendicular in the end of my cul-de-sac, 2 of which don't work. So they have 5 non-working cars and 5 that do. And here's the worst part. I'm sure that there's somebody that when they have to move the cars, they have to go out in pairs because one moves the car and then the other one moves the car back. It's like a shuffle that they do. In the cul-de-sac. Oh my goodness. I'm surprised they didn't use the yard. Unless there's no yard, because they converted the yard into a bunch of concrete and made it a driveway and just put some of the cars there. It's like, I know, hey, I can fix it. Lo puedo arreglar. That's not anecdotal. That's a lived experience. I'm sorry. I find that hilarious because it hits very close to home. Not me. I've known people like that. And they don't work. It's like, freaking hey, I've known people that the Department of Building and Safety Code Enforcement shows up and then starts issuing citations because some of these people that have all these cars, and some of them are junk cars, they say that you cannot have a used car lot at home. You are under violation of health and safety code or whatever. They're using a commercial code against a residential area because the residents are treating it like that. I mean, it's crazy. They did convert the side yard into a parking spot. See? That's what I'm saying. Oh my goodness. I was pretty spot on that one, wasn't I? So oh my goodness. Well, that's what I mean. That these kind of things they happen, but in the ever increasing place, like there are some people. And I was living when I was living in North Orange County. Um, the neighborhood dynamics changing and such. There were more people leaving from LA region, moving further out east, which would end up in Orange County because like it just either became too expensive or too dangerous. More likely that it became too dangerous, or the families were getting too big. They couldn't fit in the smaller homes that are in some of the areas of South Los Angeles. So they were moving out east. And when they moved out east, they brought some of their behaviors with them that they think they own the parking lot on the street. It's like, no, the street is public. You can't just block someone's space where they got to put the trash cans out there, because they will put the trash cans out there like a cul-de-sac. And then here come the garbage collectors and they can't. And all these spaces are being taken up. And then some of them start playing super loud music as if they were in the hood. Like, this isn't the hood, dude. So let's just say for some neighbors that were trying to assimilate to a new place, they had to learn they could not do what they were used to doing in their area over in a more affluent, if you will. I hate to even call it that. But that's really the a lived experience, if you will. But yeah, housing definitely, and it makes the cul-de-sac look crappy in a suburban Sonoma County. Large 5 and 3 bedroom tract house. Dude, that's crazy. Man. Sonoma County. Yeah. So yeah, you're up there, huh? Okay. And I appreciate you tuning in. What's up from the South? SoCal. It sounds like you're in NorCal. Well, to the point, in what I saw in this debate, in the times that Chad Bianco was able to chime in, he was the most straight up. He was the one that has the most street experience in dealing with the issues that we face on the streets, including the disastrous Prop 47. But then he was just opposed. I don't know if that was by design. He was next to, oh my goodness, what's that guy's name? Thurman? CBS. I want to get the guy's name right. I want to give him the respect that he needs because he was a candidate that was there, and I need to. I want to mention his name properly. The debate. Tony Thurman. So let me call him Tony. Tony's easy to remember. So Thurman, he was pushing for government policies. In fact, all the Democrats up there, Matt Mahan is the one I keep saying half. Matt Mahan, I've invited him on the show. His campaign hasn't responded. I mean, he's polling really low, but he's had some housing policies that I believe in. Okay. But I was actually pretty surprised to see the moderators come after him the way they did. Because, like, whoa, the whole jungle thing. And I think Matt Mahan, even though I'm not in San Jose, handled it pretty well. I think he had the right approach, or at least he was ready to defend it. So I'm not from San Jose. I don't know if this is true or not. I would have asked him myself if I had the opportunity, and you're able to expand it in the podcast setting. But the thing that he talked about, this whole jungle encampment that was being cleared, let me just tell you that the very similar thing happened outside of the Angel Stadium in Anaheim, California. I would drive down that freeway, which is the 57 freeway. And when you get south of the stadium, there's a region that's called the Orange Crush. So it's three freeways that join up there. There's the 55, the 22, and the 5. Interstate 5 goes up and down the state. So these three freeways called the Orange Crush, it used to be known as the most high trafficked concentration of vehicles in the interchange in the country. So that's how many cars go through there. So sometimes it's unavoidable that you got to pass through there. And outside the big A, as is known as, you couldn't really pay attention to the stadium because of the massive encampment that was there between the freeway and the parking lot of the big A. You couldn't ignore it. There was an eventual encampment clearing, but before the camp was cleared, there were, as Matt Mahan was saying, there was like a canvassers and I don't know what they call them. They started going through and trying to help some of the homeless find relocation assistance to go somewhere. So, and that did happen. That went on for a while before that encampment was cleared out. And when it was finally cleared out, it was like 2 tons of trash that was removed from there, which was crazy. So since then, that encampment hasn't returned. I've seen encampments being removed throughout Southern California, and this is before Trump. This was, in some cases, were even before Biden. So some of that stuff was during Obama. And this goes way back. We haven't seen a large concentration of an encampment like that. I didn't see it under Biden. I didn't see it under Trump's 2 terms, but I did see it a lot under Obama. And yeah, speaking of which, I'm going to be playing a clip from put together of Gavin Newsom that's pretty hilarious because of his record on homelessness. But yeah, so these kind of things, it's crazy what happens with homelessness, and I honestly don't know if some of these are still sheltered or have recovered. Be hard to say. But I must say, despite the higher cost of living, because it is true, we have a higher cost of living here, and then no, it's not Trump. Some things are, but not. California has made itself immune to any economic benefits that the Trump administration has been trying to do, but the same policymakers here will still blame the administration because they will not own up to the responsibilities. That's what I give Chad Bianco. I consider him the winner of this debate because he held strong, and it's like, you guys got to own up to your own policies. Stop pushing for the same thing. So when Chad Bianco stepped in and called out Katie Porter for her single payer health insurance policy, because she was saying, I forget what she was talking about, the California Fair Plan with the homeowners insurance. Like, oh yeah, that's not a good plan. And then Chad Bianco steps in and says, well, that's what you want for healthcare. It's like, talk about a hypocrite, which he is. Javier Becerra was the politician that I've always despised. I never liked the guy. I was forced to go to several holiday gatherings, and I respect the guy for keeping in touch with those that were connected, but I just could not bring myself to respect them because I was sick of politicians just smiling through their teeth while actively working against my fundamental values. It's like, how could you? How could someone that appears so nice, so kind, be that polar opposite of me? And that's what he was. And then under the health secretary position, I really didn't like him. So that's my experience with him. And last comment: my best idea to solve homelessness is harsh, but will work. Well, I'll see about that. I'll like to hear it. And with in the case of Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton had some moments where I thought they were kind of petty on him, but he did come across as two politicians. Like, Steve, you're not cut out to be a politician. If you're gonna try to kind of force it, it felt very forced. You know who did it very well? Javier Becerra. You know who else did it very well? Villaraigosa, because they're seasoned, experienced politicians, so they can mask the political look and feel. But Steve Hilton looked like someone trying to be the political neutral guy, trying to help you out, trying to say the words, the platitudes, and some of them weren't landing. Katie Porter was one of the ugliest persons on the stage, both like just internally, just an ugly person, came across as more likable in that respect because she knew what to say and how to say it, and some of them got applause because of that. So just throwing it out there. But yeah, not just you, undocumented criminality, but I'm winding down myself here too because this has been a 2.5-hour stream, and I got to wind it down. And I will spend a little bit of time for those of you on Rumble. So that means I'm going to bid au revoir to everybody else here in a moment. But I want to see your last comment, undocumented criminality. Your best idea to solve homelessness is harsh, but will work. I'd like to see what that is. Someone that created an interesting plan about how to be able to do that was Louder Crowder. Louder Crowder is a conservative program that's over on Rumble. They don't live stream to YouTube because YouTube's YouTube, but he had a plan that some might consider harsh too. So you say get rid of every homelessness outreach program, soup kitchen, needle giveaway, non-government organization homelessness advocate, make it illegal to camp on the street and enforce it. So this is what you mean to deal with homelessness. Well, here's the thing that I disagree with the outreach program, except that it shouldn't. If you mean that the government shouldn't be funding it, I can see where you're getting at. A non-government government or an NGO, they have all gotten a bad rep because of it. Here's the truth about what happens on Skid Row that few people address: the corruption on Skid Row and the purposely flooded with drugs areas that are there. That means they're meant to be permanent people on homelessness. Okay. So they're being used as props. And NGOs, as exposed recently by citizen journalists with the O'Keefe Media Group, shout out to all those that were there on the ground, from James O'Keefe, Savannah Hernandez, Cam Higby, Anthony Rubin, I think, was there. Nick Shirley was also there. Shout out to you guys for putting in the work and showing just how the homelessness are the homeless people there are just political pawns for the NGOs to feed the Democrat Party, literally. So in that position, I agree. I agree that we got to get rid of these corrupt programs that are funded by government agencies for profit, even though they're disguised as nonprofit. But some of them are also there to support Karen Bass to make sure she has a re-election campaign. So with all this corruption that's being exposed and hopefully being prosecuted by a corrupt system anyway, because it's some of Gavin Newsom himself and his friends, that's where you have this uphill battle in trying to get to justice. But I agree that these programs that have not solved should be gotten rid of. But as someone that's actually worked at a soup kitchen, those are the need. And those soup kitchens were not being funded by the government. They were being funded by corporations such as In-N-Out that would donate these burgers and fries to people. I was there working once. I think it was like my latter years in high school that I was there for. Oh my goodness, what's it called? Thanksgiving, and the people that really need it, there will always be a need. Jesus Christ himself said the poor will always be with you, and it's not incumbent on us to ignore them. It's to help those that we can, but it's not just to create a social system where they're just a welfare state where they don't get up off their feet. It's to show them the way so they can go. Because they're at some point you have to realize you need to take personal responsibility. And if Tony on that stage was saying that how he lost his parents, was in the foster care system, was adopted or something like that, and then had to get somewhere, I'm sad that he was just lied to by the communist ideals, because that's not what helped him. What helped him was his community, not the government. The government didn't provide that for him, but did have some safety net, so to speak. But it wasn't the government that got him out of there. He said his cousin did. That's not the government. So the government is not the solution. Never has been. Never will be. We still don't have a country that has practiced communism forever that has ever shown to succeed. And China can hide it all they want. We are inviting homeless people to California with all these free benefits. I agree. Absolutely. I've worked at a Redwood Gospel free dinners every day for like 2 months. Yes. And this is undocumented criminality for everybody else. We've been chatting here over on YouTube, and I appreciate you, man, because it's true. And that is what? That is the church doing outreach to the community. I think that's the most important part. The church has forgotten how to church. Like, hey, it's not just like you bench warm and then you leave. Now, if you actually put stuff into practice, you're growing into a community yourself and then helping those around you, help your neighbor. That's the ideal. Okay. But then you have the Hispanic community that's grew up with Catholicism and being lied to with, what is it? Communism, because of their countries. And they show up and think that the church is supposed to give them a handout. And then some of them get upset and leave the church because they don't get their handout. They're being told that you got to put in the work. I'm like, wait, that wasn't the deal here. That means this pastor's getting rich. I'm like, what? It's like, because they were confused. Some of them, I've got into an argument with some people that migrated here and told me that they believe that communism means community. No, it means common. It means everybody's equal. Equally owning nothing, because everything is owned by the government. And I disagree with it. It kept dregs well fed and the ability to keep being a piece of crap. Yeah, and I totally get it, because where corruption thrives, there will always be corruption. Those that take advantage of the system. Here's a big example, and this is the last I'll leave with the housing, and then I have to move to Rumble Premium for just a little bit. That means it's only going to be for those on Rumble. And dude, Undocumented Criminality, thank you so much for so much feedback, because this really extends to the heart of some of these issues and just how much more difficult to address things. And that last comment that you leave there is the human condition. It truly is. If these people aren't willing to stop sinning, why feed them? And at a personal level, I'll say this, as a Christian myself, I hope that someone doesn't give up on me if ever I ran into that. But that doesn't mean that they should constantly be trying on someone that refuses to learn, that refuses to fix themselves, that refuses to put in the work. Because it's true, it's at some point, even Jesus did not go feed someone that was in the squalor that chose to be there. I gotta find that verse, because like, oh Lord, we have enough food here, should we go give it to him? It's like, no, teach him how to fish. Unless I'm misquoting something, it could be I'm misremembering a situation, but it is true. Maybe I'm thinking of the parable of talents. The parable of talents, where you had 3 individuals, and I will clarify with this, and then I'll tell you about FHA, and how all that comes into play, and how it's taken advantage of by the haves. There was a parable of the 3 talents, where one individual had, I believe was 5, the other one had 3, and the other one had 1, or it could have been 10, 5, and 1. The point is, the number doesn't really matter. The point is that the one that had, let's say, 10, ended up doubling the keep. And when the master came back, says, Lord, you gave me 10 and I doubled it. And he's like, and then the master said, well done, good and faithful servant. The guy who did 5 doubled it. He's like, look, you gave me 5, now I have 10. He's like, well done, good and faithful servant. So then here comes the one with the 1. He's like, hey, master, I know you are a hard man and you reap what you do not sow. You benefit from so much, and we put in all the labor, and you reap all the benefits. So I didn't do anything with my coin. I just buried it in the ground. And here's the thing you gave me. Here you go back. And he says, you are a wicked servant. You could have deposited in the banks or could earn interest for me, but you couldn't even do that. So that's the example of what I meant to talk about. I think that the whole parable about teach a man, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a meal, and teach a man a fish, he'll never go hungry again, stuff like that. What's not, technically, it's not in the Bible. There's a different kind of phrase to that. But respect, brother. Great show. I'm just a frustrated Californian. Amen. I am totally with you there. And I really appreciate you chiming in on this because I think you're speaking for a lot. I'm part of a few communities across different social media platforms with some of them are conservative groups. Other ones are not so conservative, but they're concerned Californians. And we all share the same frustration. We see all our tax dollars. We're constantly being taxed like crazy, and we don't see the dividends of any of that tax thing. So I recommend people to go check out my live stream or the episode where I cover the propositions. I think it's 15 because that's the proposed one that might show up in the ballot in November. The other one is Proposition 19 that we're trying to fix. That's already passed and that wiped out generational wealth. I want you guys to check out how we're supposedly, through trying to help wildfire victims, trying to help senior citizens, and supposedly trying to prevent wildfires, we eliminated generational wealth and we're making the state richer, and nothing has transpired because of it, and we got to fix it. So thank you, everyone has been tuning in through X. There was a big crowd that tuned in on X. For those of you who are on YouTube, Ganjin World, Play TV. Unfortunately, Twitch crapped out for some reason. Kick, thank you for the new followers over there on Kick. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm going to switch over to Rumble Premium now. I've been streaming from StreamYard. I wasn't streaming from StreamYard today. I've been streaming from Rumble Studio, and I'm glad the feed stayed up. So I appreciate you all. The feed's going to cut off for everybody else. Follow me across the socials at the Andres Segovia, and I think I have my ticker for that one. Let me make sure of it. And no, the ticker's not there. So follow me across the socials at the Andres Segovia on X _Andres Segovia.